welcome to the Avocado Gamescast, the Avocado's best gaming podcast. My name's Merve, and this is, believe it or not, our 30th episode. Today, we're going to be talking all about the work of legendary game development studio Bungie, specifically the Halo and Destiny series. But before we get to that, let's meet the fine folks who are joining me today. First up, he's still hoping for a marathon reboot. It's the Radio Cat.
I'm the Radio Cat, gotta love me.
We love you very much. Next, he set his GPS's voice to Cortana. It's Zach Annan.
Hi.
And finally, his light level is over 9,000. It's the Kappa.
Hey, what's up? It's power level now, but I still stay light level every time. So
yeah, same
Right.
here. Like
I think everyone does.
I was playing the Destiny 2 demo and it said power level. I was like, wait, is that my light level? Where's this light level I heard so much about?
yeah, they
I
definitely
actually
changed
didn't
it.
realize it was not light level. And
Yeah.
I
Right
never
now is
played
where I'm
this
finding
one.
out.
Yeah,
Like you just never moused over your character's
No,
head.
I just thought it was light level. I've been calling it light level.
Everybody's calling it light level, man.
the only reason I really know is because like I was talking to a friend. He's asking about coming along the raid. I was like, "What's your light level?" And he spent like 10 minutes looking in menus and like he's like, "I have no idea." But I finally was like, "Oh yeah, that thing is the
that's
main
great.
page." Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some reason in the lore now why they're calling it a power level, because you lost all your light and then you got it back, something like that.
One of the things you have to talk about whenever you talk about Bungie in general is things that are capitalized, right? Like in every Halo or Bungie game, they just take a word and it's like darkness with a capital D, and that's the bad guy, or like
Flood.
the flood with a capital F. Yeah, they really like their proper nouns representing these vast story mechanics. So
Yeah, they definitely, like, they're even doing it in Destiny, like the Guardian, the Traveler.
yeah. Exactly. The speaker, it's everywhere. You can't escape it. It's how they do their storytelling, I guess.
The city. Yep.
The city, the sandwich.
It's not even like there's no name for the city. It's just the city.
Yeah.
Because why would we name our city? That's silly. No, it's the one. There's
Yeah.
no other
It's the-
cities. Come on now.
It's not like anybody's living on Earth. That place is all bombed to hell, man.
Yeah. Earth is garbage now.
And so you start to go travel around. There's absolutely people everywhere.
yeah, the settlements don't even have names. Where do you direct people to go? Like
Yeah.
they call
The
one
farm.
settlement the farm.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
everyone knows
that's
where
exactly
the farm
what it is.
is,
Yeah,
guys.
it's the
Come
farm.
on, it's right next to
See,
the city.
It's one
That's where
fucking
the
farm.
city is. Yeah, there's
That
only
produces
one farm
People
on the
from the
planet.
farm
For the
sometimes
entire-
sneak into the city, and you
Yeah.
get really.
I still understand how one fucking farm produces food for the entirety of humanity.
It's fine.
It'll work. So yeah, for those of you who don't
Probably
know,
the Fallen. That's probably what it is.
yeah, probably. For those of you who don't know, the way we usually make this podcast is that I'm kind of the dictator. I just pick whatever topics of discussion. I tried to democratize it, but people are like, "Oh, I don't have any suggestions." So now I'm basically the dictator, and I just pick whatever topics we're gonna discuss. So what we do is I pick the topics, we record it, then Kappa edits the podcast, and he does a very good job, and he edits it very diligently every single time. So for this episode, we decided to switch things around a bit, and Kappa picked the topic, and what we're going to do is we're going to record the podcast, and then Kappa's still going to edit it anyway. So I got to get out of doing a whole bunch of work, because I didn't have to pick the topic this time.
Yeah. Plus, that's the only thing that's really going on right now is if you want to just jump on that EA hate bandwagon. Other than that, there's not much left to be said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can jump on the Activision hate bandwagon
Oh yeah,
today.
yeah. We can definitely get on that.
And the Microsoft one, although it's going to be a little bit out of date now that
Yeah, exactly.
343's doing Halo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of Halo, guys, so Halo was kind of where Bungie got its fame, right? I mean, before they're making Marathon, and that did decently well. But Halo's kind of the series that propelled them into the gaming consciousness. So I think all of you guys have played at least one Halo game. I know I have. I've played the first Halo. How did you guys come to the series?
It's pretty much what sold me on the Xbox when that came out. So
Halo was kind of my first console couch phenomena type game. I would say GoldenEye, but I was so good at GoldenEye among my friends that I would actually have to set up matches where it would be like 3 versus 1 for me to even have a shot of losing. I'm not. I mean, like I know it's bragging, whatever, but I was like
Yeah.
GoldenEye was all I was all in. Um, but when Halo came out, it felt more like it was like GoldenEye kind of felt like it lucked into that mode, but there was stuff about it that wasn't totally equal, right? Like, we had the no odd job rule, and
Yeah.
the first person to get the P90s were almost unstoppable. But Halo felt like it was more designed around that kind of experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Like it was inspired by the success of GoldenEye and Perfect Dark on the N64 and kind of took that experience and amplified it.
Yeah, and then so I mean it was a very much like a social thing. Everybody would sit down, everybody would grab their controller, and everybody this is like Xbox One, and you'd all have it all networked into this like weird system of cables and cobbled together, and you'd sit there and you play it, and I mean it was like it was a whole night. I'm a little bit too young for like LAN parties and stuff like that, but that's kind of what that feeling was like for me. It'd be 10 guys over, break it up into teams, just having like a whole night of gameplay. And that was my Halo 1 experience. I'm going to say it's probably similar for lots of people because anybody who I think played Halo 1 has that kind of weird memory of it just being such a thing. And, the history of the production history of Halo 1's a little weird. It was supposed to be a Mac game.
Yeah,
It was
'cause that's
Mac's
where-
big foray into gaming was gonna be Halo, and Microsoft just came along and was like, nope.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, didn't it also start development kind of as an RTS? I mean,
Yeah,
that
it
came
was
back
all
for
over
Halo
the
Wars.
place. I mean, like Halo itself was basically developed as like a kind of like a setting more than a game, if that makes sense. It was going to be this, very long, very storied franchise for whoever bought it. And I think Microsoft bought the vision as much as they bought the game. I'm sure they're thrilled with themselves for making that decision.
Right.
But
I do-
yeah,
I do think it's also like the fact that it was developed like with the idea of being like an actual like setting. It really shows in the single player campaign, which I think, at least from my experience, is definitely one of the first shooter games that I remember where the story was actually like good and not
Yeah.
just good for a shooter, but like it was actually a pretty good story. For
yeah, that's
when
a
it
great
came
point.
out.
Because I went back and I played. There's like a few different games I would say that were actually legitimately ahead of their time. I don't know if you guys ever played like Command and Conquer Renegade.
I did. I love that game, and I'm sad that nobody else seems to love it or have heard of it.
That's another game that's very much like great, but way ahead of its time, and people just couldn't understand what it was doing. I feel like Halo was just a bit ahead of its time, and maybe didn't take off as much as it could until people started to figure out the multiplayer aspects of it. But story wise, I went back and replayed the as part of the Master Chief Collection. You guys had how they did that re-release of 1, 2, and 3, including the old graphics and stuff like that. And going back and playing Halo, it's weird how modern it feels in a lot of ways. And even the stuff that does feel old, it feels old in a way that you can at least relate to. Like the number one thing I would say is, Halo did the thing where it's basically two guns. That a lot of older school shooters did, and then that started to fall out of favor with with like the Doom games letting you pick up shotguns and BFGs and all kinds of guns and you had this inventory of guns, whereas Halo you were kind of always making that decision, right, about what you wanted to run with, and it affected how you played. Going back and playing it, I mean, it was so weird, like because they don't have the DMR, they don't have a lot of those kind of like Halo mainstay guns, so you're having to decide what your loadout or more or less is, and how that affects how you approach each encounter.
Yeah, because I mean, there's some certain weapons like the Covenant are kind of weak to their own weapons because they're dumb and hilarious, and the Flood are weak mostly to physical weapons more than the energy ones.
Right.
So you have to be careful, especially when it comes to points in the story where you're fighting those three-way battles. Then do you want a ranged human weapon and short range Covenant weapon, or do you want to switch that around? These kind of tactical choices come actually kind of important later in the game.
And even mechanically, the way that feels is really cool. When you go back and play through an older, Halo 1 or 2, the way that feels is really neat. Just switching off and, going into an encounter knowing, okay, well, I'm going to be facing these guys, so I want to hang on to this. And ammo is not scarce. It's not, Resident Evil or anything, but it's not so plentiful that you can use the same gun through all the way. So you kind of got to keep adapting your strategy on the fly, which makes it feel kind of fresh. It's not like it plays totally differently, but having a shotgun and a sniper through a section is way different than having a needler and a SMG.
Plasma rifle.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that plasma rifle, man.
Plasma
it's
rifle,
such a great
best weapon in game 1.
Obviously,
the energy
What
sword
about the
is best
pistol,
weapon
though?
in
the
game
pistol,
2.
man.
The
You
pistol
can charge
is
that
the
shit
thing.
up and just let her rip.
In multiplayer, yeah. The plasma pistol. I didn't do much multiplayer for any of the Halo games, honestly. I just didn't have friends. Yeah, so and like I had one friend who would also play Halo, but those games were not designed for two-person competitive multiplayer. So mostly we just did the co-op game.
And co-op I think is where the games really shine. Going back and playing some of the stuff, it's like, I know we're kind of around Halo 1 now, but man, I don't know if I've had a better experience than going through like a Halo 3 or a Halo 4 campaign on Legendary co-op. I mean, it's just sitting there literally with a friend next to you. I mean, and a lot of that core makes its way into Destiny. But man, what a really fun way to kind of be introduced to a series just side by side. And you can't oversell how good some stuff makes you feel when it comes to co-op games, which I think are kind of a weird mix now. I don't know if you see as much co-op stuff as you used to.
Definitely not.
Yeah, couch
Not
co-op has
really.
definitely declined in
Yeah,
popularity.
you'll see co-op modes, right? Like, I mean, a game will have a horde mode built in, or stuff like that. But very rarely, I think, do you see like a pure. Yeah, you can play this campaign with a friend or by yourself. Either way.
Yeah.
And mostly that's online co-op, not split screen couch co-op, which it's funny that it's become less popular with the advent of HD standards, because now we have widescreen. It's better for side by side co-op than the old 4x3 standard. So I don't know why.
But
Giant
who wants to
TVs.
play with other human beings being anywhere in their vicinity? Come on now, that's just gross. But yeah, I think it's like one of the big things that stands out for me with like the whole Halo series is kind of how they made a single player campaign in a shooter, like with the story mode that actually matters. And like I think you see that in like that kind of revolutionized how shooters kind of made their campaigns, because it's like these days like you expect any major title to have a single player campaign that's worth paying attention to, unless it's like purely a multiplayer game. But even like Call of Duty like still sometimes features stories. And then you've got games like Wolfenstein where they're all about their stories that they're telling in the games, like the BioShock series. I don't know how well would that have come around without Halo kind of paving the way with
their
their
storytelling. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And I mean, even if you think about the mechanics of the Halo campaign, right? I mean, remember when the first time you find like a warthog or like a
Hell
tank, and you're like,
yeah.
oh shit, I can drive this? You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
not just like something, and then you've got this sort of open world feeling, even on the very first stage, if you think about it, once you land on Halo, you know, you drive the warthog from spot to spot, and like you find these Marines who are fighting alongside you. I mean, it's just like at the time that was pretty damn revolutionary. And if you think about what a lot of games do now, that's kind of like you enter a hub world, you go here, you do something, you know, you meet allies, you find new weapons, you drive, you know, like all that sort of stuff at the time felt really fresh to me. I mean,
Yeah.
even going back and playing it, it's like, wow, they weren't even playing. I mean, as soon as you hit the ground in Halo, it's like we're not going to be like any game you've played so far, which is a corridor shooter, or even kind of just like an open world shooter where you kill enemies and that's it. Enemies in Halo don't respawn, which is also kind of smart, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you wipe out an area and then you want to go back there and just kind of jump around in rocks and look for skulls or hidden stuff,
Launch
go
a
for it.
warthog. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, the first level of Halo, I think, is sort of, I mean, it is kind of a set piece level because, the ship is collapsing, but it's fairly standard. And then once you actually crash land on the titular planet and you see it open up, that's when it sort of blows your mind.
Yeah, it's a very contrasting experience, right? Because you're like thinking, okay, well, this is going to be a corridor shooter in a space station, just like I played a million times, you know? And then it's like, nope, here you go.
And here's the world now. Yeah.
And you even play it differently, right? Because you don't have to go look for health packs and armor and shit like that, right? It's
Exactly.
like, no, just hide behind this rock for 10 seconds and then get right back into the fight.
I think that helps with like the forward momentum that like a lot of the levels, they're just like constantly driving because you don't really need to,
Yeah,
Came back.
somebody online posted this, and I thought it was really interesting. It talks about like how engagements go in shooters, right? So think about like just any shooter you're playing, and like in a Halo game, like you maybe throw a grenade, right, to like kind of thin out the pack or break some shields. You start to close the distance, either chipping away with like a DMR or like an assault rifle. Then you get up close and you switch to your up close weapon, and then finally you're meleeing, right?
Yeah.
Like meleeing's a big thing in Halo. So you kind of got this like, this layer of, it goes from grenade to long range weapon to short range weapon to punching, and you've got this whole like combat flow, right? A lot of games don't have that. If you think about like your Call of Duty, for example, you use the same gun, the whole time.
Yeah.
And you just you shoot till you see headshot ticks, and then who cares? Maybe you switch to a shotgun if you're in a corridor, but it doesn't have that kind of flow like a lot of other games do. And I played a ton of Halo, I replayed the whole series. When you go through that experience to any other shooter, it's like, man, I wish I had those kind of options to deal with enemies in a different way,
Yeah, definitely. Well, like, what do you? Okay, since we're on the topic, what do you think about like the final level on the original Halo? Because it was kind of like
The Warhog Drive?
polarizing.
Oh, God. Yeah, that
Yeah. I see here's the weird experience I have with that final level. I was always the gunner, right? With my group of friends, when we would play, I was always the gunner on the Warthog. I sucked at driving it. And Warthog driving is its own little talent. I mean, it's almost like a skill you pick up. So, I mean, I actually had one of those moments where it was like hand my controller to my friend to beat it for me, the first time I did it. So I mean, I hated it, but it was another social experience for me, because he was sitting right there next to me. He's like, "Oh yeah, man, let me drive," and I just handed him the controller, and he beat it for me. But that's the kind of experience you kind of used to have all the time, right? I mean, like when you would play video games, even like a Mario, it's like, "Oh, this fucking level. Oh yeah, let me show you, some of these ways to beat it."
Show you the sweet tricks.
yeah, it's sort of been supplanted by the internet, and for better or for
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah.
Halo 1 was right on the cusp of when the internet was a thing, as far as for like walkthroughs and stuff. I'm sure you could have game fact it, but I doubt there was a YouTube of how to do it until the end. But
I mean,
it's a lot of trial and
Halo
error.
1
I don't think
precedes
YouTube was
YouTube.
even around when it came out.
Now I'm sure if you went and replayed it, you'd just go look on YouTube and figure it out. But for the time, it was very difficult. It was like a friend who's like, "Oh yeah, I've done this 100 times. Here you
The
go."
library. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I I could
That's
not fucking
definitely
drive
the
that
level
Warthog.
Yeah, it was weird. Now if I pick it up, I'd be fine with it. You know, I've just got so much practice with it. But at the time, yeah, I mean, it was not something that you did for most of the game. So
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was my favorite moment. If we're talking, you know, moments from Halo burned into my head that I think are series highlights, I don't think the ending of one is going to be anywhere near there. I mean, you mentioned the library, and that's a hated level, but even
Oh,
going
yeah.
back and replaying it, I found it a lot more manageable. Replaying it, it kind of made more sense, and I think it's because I
that
played
the
a ton
really
of
long
Destiny.
one?
That's
Yeah,
where the
it's the
flood
introduction to
first
the
show up.
flood. Yeah,
Yeah, and that has been like seared into my memory because like for me as you know like a young kid, like having the flood emerge was legitimately scary.
Yeah.
Like you're wandering
They're
through this like
terrifying.
seemingly empty place. You don't see any enemy. Everything's like super quiet, and then all of a sudden there's this like swarm of monsters that just appears out of nowhere, and it's like an overwhelming number of them. Like that scared the crap out of me.
yeah.
When I first played it.
It sort of dips for that whole stage into like a survival horror type shooter, you know,
Yeah.
which is a weird switch. You know, go when you know when it's coming and when you know what to expect, it's not as bad. But you know, gameplay wise, it does also kind of change that whole thing I was talking about because you start to get a little more ammo starved. And these things just kind of keep coming, and you're desperately looking for any kind of human weapon, you know, be it a shotgun or assault rifle or whatever you can find, just to whittle down their numbers instead, because the Covenant weapons do almost nothing. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the game changes what it is for a little bit. I think that throws some people off, but when you kind of realize that, yeah, Halo does this part too, especially because in Halo 2 and 3 they kind of have some of the same stuff. It's not bad. I know it's kind of hated, but going back and playing, I didn't hate it. I actually kind of enjoyed it.
I think it's
Right.
it's a legitimately scary moment. At least it was for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was creepy.
And it's a lot more memorable, I think, than the final level for Halo.
I
I had to
yeah.
like I couldn't tell you anything about what the last level was like, but Jesus, the library is just seared into my mind. As far as like the tension and then the like terror of the flood first emerging, and you're just trying to desperately get through and get out of there without being overwhelmed by all those zombie monsters.
Yeah, and I mean, overwhelmed is a really good way to put it because there's been times, you know, even replaying it when I'm replaying on higher difficulty levels, you're like, I just don't know what the fuck I can do. I don't have any ammo. I'm in a corner. I know where the next checkpoint is. And I mean,
it's
you're
like
just
500 of these little explodey pimple monsters. I can't melee them because they will pop and kill me, and I have no ammo to shoot them with. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, if maybe we can transition a little bit into, I mean, kind of what I think is the greatest moment of Halo history, which is landing on Halo in Halo 1, to kind of some of our most iconic, other iconic moments. If I've got to pick one, I'm going to probably get a little bit outside of Master Chief land, but Halo Reach. Do you guys remember the tip of the spear mission?
I do.
Man,
I
what
only played the first two Halos, so yes, I remember it. Well.
it's kind of like the first time you feel like you're part of a giant battle. You know, it's basically a big war, a big battle sequence. You know, where you actually feel like you're going in there with other, you know, warthogs and hornets and stuff like that, and it's a crazy fight, and it kind of just keeps coming.
Yeah.
I loved it. I thought it was going to be like, okay, you know, you drive through this battle and you go into this building. Nope, it's a whole battle. Reach told the story in a really interesting way. You know, that would kind of come back around again a little bit in Halo 5. But Reach was kind of the first time where you realized that, you know, the Spartan program wasn't just Master Chief. You know, it'd been obviously talked about in some of the external game lore, but this was when you got to actually deal with other people who were like Master Chief, and kind of see that, you know, yeah, there was people all over the galaxy kicking ass, not just this one dude. And the whole theme of that game obviously is sacrifice. So by the time you're getting to some of the end stages in that game, I mean, you're feeling it. It's like you've been whittled down.
Yeah.
And you've seen these people who like, you know, games have definitely, you know, killed off people before, but this is like you get the feeling like this team is not making it. So, like they're just not
So
gonna.
it's sort of like Rogue One,
Yeah,
almost.
Yeah,
yeah,
well, that's great comparison, kind of.
yeah. It's exactly that. You know, the odds are so stacked against you, and you kind of know the story of Reach. Reach,
Yeah.
is not a feel good story.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, even from the very first Halo, like, when you're, like, even from the tutorial mission of Halo 1, they're talking about how Reach had just fallen, everyone there was dead, and you're, like, the last Spartan ever. So,
Yeah,
if you played any Halo game before, you already know that Reach is going to hell.
yeah. And the way they talk about Reach too is kind of creepy, right? They're like, Reach was glassed. Like you're like,
Yeah.
what? Like it's like no, like it wasn't like like Reach, you know, like they fought a losing war. No, it was like the planet was destroyed. And then you get to be part of that, and you realize that the whole point of the squad is to get Master Chief more or less off planet with some specific information. You know, but what a game, and it leads right into Halo 1. I mean, where it drops you off at the doorstep of Halo 1 and adds a lot more backstory to what's going on there. So I mean, I really enjoy you know, where the Halo series has gone in telling the stories. You know, I think, I don't know if you guys played ODST. That's probably my favorite Halo game.
Oh wow,
from
I
start
haven't
to
played that
finish.
one.
ODST is another weird story because it plays totally differently, and you play as, let's say, a very good soldier in a world full of like gods and monsters and aliens. You know, like you feel it. You feel the difference between the ODST and and Master Chief or any other Spartan that you control.
Does it
You're
change
way
sort of like the health and shield mechanics too?
no, it's still the same, but so what happens is you need to find health packs to regenerate your health. So if your shield breaks, you take damage, but that damage doesn't regenerate, if that makes sense.
Okay. I mean, that's
it-
just like the first Halo. Then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
But this is ODST came out after 3, I think. I mean, timeline wise, I think it came out right after 2. But so the Halo series had left that behind.
Yeah.
And you also
Oh, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah,
Because I've
you're-
only played like the first 2 Halos. Well, I've played the like Halo 2 multiplayer. I've only played the campaign of the first. Anyway,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Your shield breaks easier. You're more vulnerable. You know, weapon wise, you're pretty much just using human weapons. They have like this citywide system that gives you human weapons. You can still pick up Covenant weapons, but they're all kind of a little less effective. So yeah, I mean, ODST it plays differently, and you feel more vulnerable. You're not as badass as Master Chief. Even little things like you jump less high and stuff like
wow.
that.
Nice.
It's a good story, and it tells the story in kind of like a somber mood. You're stuck in this specific city, but you know, you learn the map. There's a like a nexus area, then you go back and play through it as you discover what happened to your team. Some make it, some don't. There's also this kind of like story about the AI that controls the city, you know, more or less helping you as you go along. So instead of a Cortana, you get a city that's basically helping you fight the Covenant in a cool way. I don't know. I mean, ODST to me felt different, but it's Halo, but it's kind of it's them trying some experiments, and that's kind of what I liked about Bungie in a lot of ways. They were never afraid to kind of mess with their baby, you know, even to the point of giving it up. So Destiny, when we get to talking about Destiny, I think you could easily call Destiny, you know, Halo Online. It was with some subtle
completely.
changes.
Yeah.
But I mean, they did enough to say, look, you know, we, for whatever reason, whether it was money or whether it was whatever, they just said, look, our vision right now is to move it from where it is to what we want it to be. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you guys think about it right now, you know, in terms of where the series is going, because it's not Bungie anymore.
it's 343.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I had played 4,
Mhm.
but I did not get an Xbox One, so I haven't touched 5 at all. 4 was all right. I was excited for it, but it was I didn't have strong feelings about it really.
Yeah, 4, like 4, I think in a vacuum as its own game, I I think gameplay wise and story wise is my favorite Halo because it's so self-contained. Well, it's not my favorite Halo. ODST is my favorite, but it's my favorite Master Chief Halo, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's very self-contained. You can tell 343 was like, we're going to take all the feelings and everything of Halo and put it into one game, but it doesn't feel as good as the trilogy does. It's kind of like the opposite of like Andromeda, right? Like Andromeda is not as good as the Mass Effect trilogy, but Andromeda as its own game feels weak, right? Mm-hmm. Where I would say that Halo 4 as its own game feels really strong, but it doesn't feel as good as, the trilogy. And that makes sense. It's hard to compare one game against the trilogy, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think you've got some of the emotional highs and lows you do as going through a whole trilogy and then just playing 4 on its own. But it's hard for me to kind of say where it went, what was 343's idea, what was Bungie's idea. But 4 itself is a really small, self-contained game, and I really like the main plot point of it, which was Cortana's going rampant. Your best friend, more or less, is going insane. And it deals with insanity kind of in an interesting way that I'm not going to say it's, like it's therapeutic or it makes sense, but like I've had people in my life who kind of like, wow, grandma is just not making sense when I talk to her anymore,
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of get that feeling with Cortana. It's like she says these things and does these things and has these flashes, and you're like, it's very small at first, and you're like, oh wow, I can't trust Cortana anymore. When throughout the series, she'd always been the one person that had your best interest at heart and tried to, get you through it all.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And like,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, after you.
I was gonna say, and it's especially emotionally potent or poignant because Cortana's become not only sort of this iconic part of the Halo series, but it's become sort of part of not just part of the series in and of itself, but she's become sort of like the icon.
Yeah.
For Halo, right?
And Cortana is also kind of, I've heard people compare Cortana to like the princess, the damsel in distress, but she's really not. Cortana's super powerful. I mean, in the series, if you think about all the stuff she does, she's the one who like basically controls things for vast parts of the series. And she, in a weird way, she's the player's representative in Halo, right? Master Chief's usually strong, silent, quiet, has very few things other than, I'll go do it, or time to kick ass, those types of quotes. Yeah. Whereas Cortana's always like the emotional core of the game. So I would say that most people playing Halo, if you said, who do you identify with more, it'd probably be Cortana, even though she's this crazy AI most of the time. But, she's the one who drives so much of the story and is the one who, is talking and giving you a lot of times it's exposition. It's like the Ghost in Destiny. But it's also the heart of the game is usually Cortana, because Master Chief is a mess of unfeeling.
He's just a silent protagonist. Like,
I mean, he does talk. He's not like Gordon Freeman.
But,
as Kappa says, he says like 5 words.
Yeah,
yes.
and then Cortana is the one who's saying basically everything. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. These people are in trouble. Oh no, here comes It's her voice you usually hear with any type of emotional inflection. So that's why I would say she's kind of the core.
Yeah, from a game design perspective, it's actually kind of interesting because usually in games that, like, Halo doesn't have a silent protagonist, doesn't speak very much. In games that don't have a silent protagonist, usually you identify like the person with whom the player identifies the most is the protagonist, right? The player character. And here it's interesting in that the player character, Master Chief, is sort of the avatar for the player's movements,
right?
And the player, and how the player mechanically interacts with the world. But Cortana's almost sort of like the narrative avatar.
Yeah, and it carries that exact design into Destiny, right? I mean, everybody could probably say if you've played more than an hour of Destiny, you probably think of yourself as your guardian, but when you think of things that are said or done in that game, I guarantee you think of your ghost voice. Yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't think of your, because I know in Destiny 1 you say maybe 10 lines. I don't think you say anything in Destiny 2.
Yeah, but the guardian is literally silent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Destiny 2, he never says anything.
Yeah,
Or
so,
she, so.
the more you think of it, the more you think of that ghost voice. And like I think it's smart that they recast Dinklebot. We'll talk about that later, I guess. But and they just announced the Curse of Osiris, and kind of the same thing. Osiris does a lot of talking, but guess what? So does his ghost. And we haven't had a lot of ghost to ghost talking. We haven't had a lot of other ghosts that talk. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the different ghosts who's out there, kind of doing stuff similar, talking to the player character. I think they got Morena Baccarin, right, for the voice. A very iconic voice. Destiny doesn't skip with the voice acting. I'll tell you that.
Voice acting is
they got
fantastic.
Nathan Fillion.
Yeah.
Who else they got? Lance
Nolan
Reddick.
Lance Reddick, yeah.
Since we talked a little bit about it, I don't think Dinklebot was necessarily a bad decision. I've never known who to blame or whatever. I kind of think they told him, hey, you're voicing a robot, and maybe that was his inflection, if that makes sense. But it does kind of show you some of the faults of going for a big name actor instead of a big name voice actor in some ways. I think it was a lot of work for him to carry that first bot voice through the whole series, and talking about stuff that maybe he really couldn't connect to, or maybe he wasn't directed as well. I don't know. I tend to, give him some excuses because obviously the dude can act, But I think anybody who played Destiny 1 with his voice will tell you it was a huge mistake. Whereas, Cortana's voice is so iconic to me. I was actually pissed when Microsoft announced Cortana, the voice chat program, and they didn't use her voice.
Right.
I was like, what? Why call it Cortana and not use her voice?
Yeah.
It was really frustrating to me that they decided to do that.
I mean, Microsoft has sort of tried to make Cortana a thing outside Halo. Like your search functionality in Windows 10 is called Cortana.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre to me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Cortana was well known outside of the realm of video games.
It will be if Microsoft has their way.
Yeah.
They'll try.
It's
Right.
just like any other, voice assistants or whatever. But she was also Zoe in Left 4 Dead, the series, as well.
Really?
They used her for that. Yeah, so every now and then she'll say something, and she uses kind of a different voice. Voice actresses, have skill, obviously, but every now and then she'll say something. I'm like, Cortana? It'll just once you heard enough, voice actors and voice actresses, that sometimes just happens. But
Yeah.
I love the Cortana character, and I try not to get super defensive online with people, but I really hate when people call her the damsel in distress trope. It just aggravates me because I don't think there's ever a situation that Cortana puts herself in where she can't handle it. She's almost like a.
When do you rescue Cortana?
There's a lot of it in 3 and 4 as she starts to get a little more rampant. It's like don't make the girl a promise she can't keep. You kind of put her into things that the game's not sure, but she's telling you to do it. She's like, I can handle this, put me in here. And then there's a lot of kind of going back and rescuing her or finding her, but it's more like she put herself in a hard situation and you've got to go get her. It's not like she's just lost.
Okay.
And I don't know if you guys played 4, but 4 is kind of her. It's hard to explain. Halo 4 is a Cortana game that Master Chief happens to be in. If I could say kind of where that game goes, he's more about, she's the one doing all the heavy lifting and fighting a war with the Prometheans from the inside, kind of like this guerrilla AI campaign. And then at the end you're the one kind of more or less saving her, or she's the more or less saving you if you really want to get into it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Cortana's a character I really, really like. Is the best way I could describe it. And her as the core of the Halo series was a really smart idea.
Agreed.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't realize she was voiced by Jen Taylor. Okay, yeah, that's
who's
an
Princess
iconic
Peach.
video game voice.
Yeah.
Princess Peach.
Right.
Salem from Ruby. Yeah, she's done a bunch of stuff. Yeah, she's a really iconic voice actor. Oh my gosh, she's also Kate from No One Lives Forever.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
she's got some fan favorite credits for sure.
Yeah, the second No One Lives Forever, not the first, but yeah, still, she's
It's just a
really
phenomenal voice actor. Even Master Chief's voice actor is perfect. I know he's like a radio DJ, but even his voice acting
Steve
and what he
Downes.
needs to do it is very spot on. And Destiny does nothing but take the voice acting to another level. I mean, it's when you hear voices in that game, you're like, oh wow, they got him in a video game or her in a
Yeah.
video game. It's like it's shocking. Even though there's some of them are pretty small roles, but man, the first time I realized, oh man, that's Peter Stormare. Or I know her first name is Shora, but I have no idea how to pronounce her last name. The actress from The Expanse.
Shore Agdashlu, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, you hear those voices and you're like, wow, they were not playing when they got some of these voices in this game.
Yeah, I mean these are actors and actresses with quite a bit of geek cred, like
Yeah,
Ben Sreddick
absolutely.
and Shore Agdashlu have been in all these sci-fi kind of things. So yeah, they're pulling from a pool of talent that the audience would be familiar with.
So, I mean, Halo, it's hard for me to. I replayed all of the Halo series. I'm probably so I started from Halo 1. Actually, I started from Reach, Halo 1,
So you played
to
them in narrative
ODST.
order.
Yeah, I played them in the chronological order. I even played Halo Wars. And so right now I'm about a quarter way through 5, and then I'm planning on finishing Halo Wars 2. The narrative's shockingly consistent over that many games. The way they kind of keep their world together, and it does feel like they were building to something like Destiny. Going back and playing a lot of Destiny now and playing through the Halo series, it all kind of works, right? All the pieces are there. But I mean, the gameplay shifts are never. I mean, it's little things, right? Like, remember the first time in Halo 2 where you pick up the 2 guns? You're like, whoa, 2 guns, But it's not so crazy going back and playing it now to see that, okay, yeah, all this kind of makes logical sense in some ways. So mechanically, it's all there, but kind of like the heart of Halo, it is consistent throughout. Reading a lot of the lore, I mean, you've got like the Spartan program, which what I love about it is it was never. People talk about the Spartans like they were designed to fight the Covenant. They weren't. They were designed to put down a human uprising, which is why what Halsey did, Halsey, being the kind of human antagonist of the series, is so unforgivable. She more or less kidnapped children, put them through like the worst things imaginable, ruined them. Most of them died, but the ones that didn't become these super soldiers that are more or less heroes to the world, with Master Chief being foremost among them, to more or less save humanity. So it's a good thing for where it ends up, but it started in this place of real dark shittiness, of doing this to kids. So the way they treat her, as a war criminal, but Spartans as heroes, is a really interesting thing, right? I mean, it's
like you're a monster, but your work is valuable, and we're going to exploit it.
Right, and so the narrative throughout of Master Chief just being kind of this unfeeling robot, where people are like, oh, I can't stand Master Chief because he doesn't, well, that's kind of who he is. That's what he was created to be. And when you start to read into the lore of the series itself, it's complicated. I mean, it's 10 million years ago, there was humanity that actually was the most powerful, race in the whole universe, but they were fleeing the flood and they ran into the fall. I almost said fallen. They ran into the, the Forerunners, and the Forerunners fought the humans, but they didn't realize the flood was behind them. There's a lot there, and it's probably my favorite narrative for a game, because when stuff comes up, it feels like it was planned. It never really feels like it was like, oh yeah, we're just going to throw this in there, because all the little backgrounds are there when you get into the little vidocs. I don't know how to pronounce those things. Throughout the game, and then they've got all these weird things in the game that set that all up, and you go back and you play it and go, wow, actually, yeah, humanity was the most powerful source, and Master Chief is, when they call him the Reclaimer, he's reclaiming the mantle. Again, all these things are capitalized because it's Bungie. What he's reclaiming is basically humanity's dominance in the world. But do we want to give up what we've become as a species to all become like Master Chief, where we're unstoppable killing machines, but we also don't have feelings and families and all this other stuff that Master Chief's more or less given up to be who he is. So I mean, I love that narrative running through the series.
Yeah, in some sense, Master Chief is sort of fighting for all that normalcy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's
Because when you say
protecting.
he's saving humanity,
Yeah.
he's saving the right or the ability for humanity to be what we are. Loving, feeling, caring people. But what he's done instead is get rid of all that so he can be the person who saves us from the bad stuff out there. It's kind of like a narrative, I guess you could say, like people talk about like the modern, like soldiers, right? Like they give it all up to go out there on the line and be all this stuff. But so people can have the right to go shop at the mall for Black Friday stuff, which I think is kind of a fake narrative today, but it works in this series, right? Because you've
Yeah.
got these kids that are just kids and they've given it all up their childhood so that humanity can survive the flood, and the covenant and everything else.
And without spoiling anything too much, it's the kind of these kind of narrative beats seems like it's easy to see they might have inspired, say, the recent Wolfenstein game, which plays around with a lot of these themes. I should say the New Order. I haven't finished the New Colossus.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, I
yeah.
think there's a few games that do do the whole, by killing a ton of things, do you become the monster? Are you the bad guy? What's
See,
that?
I wouldn't say Wolfenstein goes there. It's more like it's not like you're a monster for killing Nazis. I don't think it's trying to be like an edgelord kind of game like that. It's more like saying, if I turn myself into a killing machine, am I losing touch with humanity? And am I doing this to sacrifice myself for the greater good?
Right, which famously Spec Ops: The Line, right? I mean, that was like one of the things that people loved about that game is like, hey, if I'm this guy from Call of Duty just killing everybody that comes across my crosshairs, do I become like the bad guys I'm out there supposedly killing?
I think the answer in that game is just a resounding yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But I think other games have kind of touched on that, have kind of jumped into that whole, hey, if you're just out there indiscriminately shooting everything that moves, you might not be who you think you are. And Halo has some of that in its DNA. So that's one of the things I've always enjoyed about the Halo series. And I mean, I know the spoiler alert, we kind of prep for this. One of the last things in here is commercially, I think that once Halo 1 and definitely 2 did what they did sales-wise, I think Microsoft just let Bungie be Bungie. And for the good or for the bad, I think there's some in there that really just it sold so well. It is the face of Halo, of Microsoft, of Xbox for sure.
Yeah.
I think they
didn't
got
micromanage.
right. I think they got so much ability to do what they wanted with the series and the games that it really let it breathe and go in ways and directions that I don't know many other FPSs have been allowed to go, maybe up until now, where now FPSs are very comfortable telling complex stories.
Yeah, and even then, like, I'd say, Wolfenstein, Spec Ops is third person, but Wolfenstein, Spec Ops, etc., they're outliers. Most games don't go there.
Well, I mean, if you play like a Call of Duty these days, right? They try to. They have their set pieces, they have their no Russians, they have their, those
But it's
types.
also ham-fisted,
Exactly. I mean, that's the
Yes,
thing. It never does it as well.
It's like before Halo, they wouldn't even attempt it. It would just be like you get like the flimsiest of excuses, and then you just run around murdering Nazis all day.
Exactly. World
but
War II.
after
Which is great.
Halo,
I love killing me some Nazis. But
I mean, who doesn't? Like, it's the best.
But now they definitely layer a lot of that. Well, like I'm trying to think of what was the one with Kevin Spacey. Spit on his name.
Was that Infinite Warfare?
Yeah. So they definitely try to do a lot of for this private military company. Are they the good guys or are they the bad guys? I mean, there's a little bit of ambiguity there. And I'm not saying that Halo was the first or even the best to do it, but I think they were one of the first, the mainline series of
like,
FPSs.
popularized it.
Yeah, they definitely popularized it and made it made developers realize that it's a commercially viable way to develop a shooter.
Yeah, to have a protagonist who's doing good things, but in a way that's destroying him. I mean, like you can tell by the end of Halo 3 that he is just not who he started out with, in even subtle ways. Going back and playing the game, have you guys? I don't know if you've ever noticed his armor just falls apart from
Totally.
Halo 1 to
Yeah.
3. And it's because he just keeps
He
going.
never bothers to repair it.
Yeah, and it's such an iconic line. I'll tell you guys a little secret. So I found this online. I found a really cool painting of Master Chief, and one of my friends, she's an amazing artist, and I kind of had her just paint it for me because they were selling it online for like $500, and I was like, hey, can you paint this for me? But she did it for me as a
Sweet.
favor. But to me, the most iconic line in Halo is "Wake me when you need me." Right? Like it's like this guy who's always there. It's like a hero, but like a Superman who's just he's just tired. You know, he's just like, I know you're gonna need me at some point, but I mean, and then you of course you wake him, and the first time you see him, and it's just his armor, of course, and it's just nicked and cut, and you know, like it looks like it's been through some shit, you know,
Yeah.
which I love. I mean, and it's a really smart way to kind of show like, yeah, this guy's never stopped. He's always kept going.
Yeah, like he doesn't even stop to get like replacement armor.
No, yeah, he does eventually. I mean, I think in 4 he gets an upgrade, but I mean 1, 2, and 3, considering that's the bulk of the trilogy. I mean, by the end of, I remember when he comes down to from 3, you just like, wow, he doesn't even like. If you go back and look at where he started to where he ended up, yeah, he's not the same. His visor has a huge crack through the middle of it. I mean, it's. And you can remember those moments in the game where a lot of that stuff happened.
Yeah, like it's interesting because what was I gonna say? When you see a character sort of develop like that over the course of the series, like not brushing off what happened in the previous game, it sort of builds your investment in that character.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really neat approach that they've adopted to storytelling almost through character models, which you don't typically see, because like you play some RPG and you go through a fight and you're covered in blood and guts, and then
Until
literally
5 minutes later, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
like,
yeah.
you didn't even shower; it's all gone.
And then in the next cutscene, it looks like you just you know put on the uniform or whatever. That's and they don't do that. in
Just
Halo.
got out of the salon. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. See, I've always appreciated Dragon Age not doing that, just like keeping the blood and guts on you.
Yes.
But then
Right.
sometimes,
Get off.
sometimes you run into like hilarious. I shouldn't say bugs because it's kind of intended, but you run into hilarious problems where you like set an NPC on fire and they'll be on fire in the next cutscene.
Finally, like if we want to talk about where we think Halo is going, I like I said, I'm about 2/3, maybe a quarter of the way through Halo 5. It kind of feels like to me like they're ready to pass the mantle. I'm not saying that they're totally done with Master Chief. I think he's still there, but I think that accepting that the Spartan program came from Poison Fruit in a way is them kind of sidelining some of those Spartans in favor for what you've got now, which is this kind of team of like, I guess we would call them like the Delta Force, right? Like Buck is the best ODST out there, and like they're kind of more getting away from the old Spartans that Halsey created, because they were created from a war crime. They were created from this horrible place, and I think that's why they're okay with sidelining that part of the story and giving us instead these kind of a little less ambiguously backgrounded guys who what's smart though is that they've carried them over from the games. Also from the different outside of game media they've had, like Locke basically comes from Halo Nightfall, obviously, which was better than I expected it to be as far as game tie-in shows go.
Isn't that Ridley Scott produced?
Yes.
Okay.
It would have been a better than Sci-Fi Saturday Afternoon sci-fi movie, but I don't know if it ever really would have done well at the movie. So it's somewhere in between, right?
They didn't
it was
distribute it
adequate.
very widely either.
No,
it was only on
on
like the
Halo
channel.
Yeah.
That's why I'd never heard of it. I was like, Halo Nightfall? What is that?
Yeah, it stars Mike Coulter, who famously probably now is Luke Cage, and it's adequate. I mean, it's a sci-fi story that tells a very specific story, from start to finish. Enjoyable to watch. Forward Unto Dawn, I think, is probably the best Halo movie that exists. I think that's a really smart movie. Tells you a lot of cool things, gets a lot of stuff out of the way. I love Forward Unto Dawn. It's probably my favorite video game tie-in show, movie, whatever you want to call it. And I think that was a neat one.
Better than the Super Mario Brothers movie?
Yeah, absolutely.
Preposterous.
And the
I
show.
refuse to hear it.
I think the best has to be the Zelda cartoon.
Yeah.
You know, excuse me, princess.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, what Forward Unto Dawn does is it humanizes a lot of stuff, and it gives you a background for like what it was like to be, kind of that first contact of the Covenant in a cool way. It's kind of like your standard military training movie up until like that last third act, but it is totally not. So I like that one a lot. But yeah, I mean, where Halo's going, I think we're going to slowly see Master Chief kind of become, like, he's never going to be some kind of bureaucrat. They're always going to, but I feel like he's going to be being held in reserve in a lot of ways, and he's not going to be the focus of the story. I think they've got a good idea with what they're doing with the team that they're building, whatever they end up being called.
Yeah.
But I feel like that also is a doorway into multiplayer, and I think that's where they're going with the series as a whole. Because right now multiplayer is Master Chief and also Master Chief, which is why me and my son were actually Master Chief for Halloween, because he thinks he's Master Chief too. You know what I mean? Because when we play co-op, that's what he is. So he thinks there's two Master Chiefs, and I don't think that they've ever really done anything cool with that. But yeah, I think that's their foray into customizable characters, a little bit more customization, making it feel a little bit different, not having Master Chief and also a Master Chief.
I mean, has the Halo series ever acknowledged the fact that co-op is a second Spartan, or do they just kind of like, no, that doesn't actually, it's not, you're not actually there.
I think the only time they've ever actually done it is when the second player will sometimes play as the Arbiter. Yeah. I think through parts of 2, but then of course it took off, so it was just a second Spartan, which is weird because there's lots of other really good Spartans out there, as evidenced by Halo 5, who finds a couple of them, and Spartan Ops as well, as part of Halo 4. I mean, Linda is right up there in terms of Master Chief in abilities, but she's more of a sniper, but there's other Spartans out there who are kicking around doing big things that I just don't know why they never really involved them in the series up until Spartan Ops.
Yeah, I think it's kind of just wanting to keep characters in reserve for later down the line. Like, probably Halo 6 is going to be another Master Chief game because they're trying to finish out the new trilogy or whatever.
Yeah.
But after that, who knows? I think they have a deep well of lore and other characters to draw from, and I think they could bring out another Spartan or even a non-Spartan character, because there's probably a lot of those.
That's really where I see it going. I really see it kind of, not. I don't think they'll ever totally sideline Master Chief, but I think there's going to be a point where it's not his story anymore. It's humanity, or whatever you want to call it, story that they involve certain people in, and that lets it feel a little bit more. Bad stuff can happen. It's not like everybody's going to make it through every story, because Master Chief is. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just before we move on to talking about Destiny, a few of the things I wanted to point out regarding how Halo has influenced sort of the broader cultural sphere. Like, we were talking about how Halo's mechanics have been used in other games, and Zach brought up BioShock. Which is interesting to me because BioShock Infinite plays a lot like a Halo game.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Like the 2-weapon limit, the regenerating shields but non-regenerating health, that's just like straight out of Halo.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like the mixture of corridors and open levels, also straight out of Halo. So it's interesting to see that come back in a game a decade later, and still feel kind of fresh. And then like. Halo has spawned a lot of, like, culturally in terms of video games, it's spawned a lot of, like,
clones,
auxiliary stuff. Like, Machinima got its rise from Halo.
Yeah.
Red versus Blue. Yeah.
Yeah, Red versus Blue. And, like, Rooster Teeth, essentially, like, now they're this big media company.
I remember when the only thing they did was just basically Red versus Blue.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So they essentially built like a mini media empire out of Halo fan fiction.
You know,
Which is
it's kind of
hilarious.
interesting because at any
Yep.
point, Bungie probably could have sued them to the point of not existing, you
Yeah.
know, and they never did. And I think that's kind of, you know, we'll talk a little about Bungie and how they've handled Destiny, but I've always thought that was kind of a cool thing for them to do. You know, go
Yeah.
ahead and become $1 billion media empire, and you know, we're not gonna get in your way. Go for it.
Microsoft is actually like, apparently now they just have a contact person at Microsoft who just signs off on whatever they do for Red versus Blue. They're like, as long as you don't do anything that like insults Halo, we don't care.
Yeah.
Just do what you want. Make it
Yep.
as ridiculous, as goofy, as out there as you want. Just do whatever, as long as you're just not like being Halo as shit. So the guy just like signs off on.
Yeah.
and it's still going. Like
Yeah,
they're on like
absolutely.
the 15th season of Red versus
Wow. That's
Wow. Yeah.
Blue. Yeah, it's nuts that they've been doing it for that long. Yeah, so I think that puts a nice sort of capper on the Halo segment of the podcast. You guys want to move on to talk about Destiny?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The game that everybody hates and loves.
Yeah.
It's the game we all love to hate.
Yeah.
I've never actually played the original Destiny, but I did play a bit of the Destiny 2 demo, which is an interesting experience for me because I remember I put up a forum post about it like after having played 40 minutes of it. I was just like, this game is garbage and I hate it and I can't believe anybody likes it. But then I played a bit more and I sort of got into the rhythm of things and I realized it's never going to be like, this game is definitely not for me. But I think it would be an interesting sort of co-op experience to have, and it's something I definitely see value in.
That's what it is at its core. I would say it's. So the thing about
It's an
Destiny that's
MMO
weird.
shooter.
Yeah,
Like it definitely is. It is designed to be played with other people. Like either co-op with the strikes and the raid, and then the competitive PvP. But yeah.
I mean, even the campaign, like you look at the combat encounters, and they're really not designed to be soloed.
Right. And in a weird way, I think I know you said MMO. I can't remember the word that they really kind of like put behind it. I think I've heard it called a shared space shooter or something like that.
Shared world shooter.
Yeah. They've come up with a bunch of different stuff. But I mean, really, what it is to me at its core is it's a game that knows that everything is a little bit more fun, and it's okay that it's a little bit more easy with other people. It doesn't try to do that thing where, okay, well, you add another person, well, now we're going to make it ridiculous. No, let's as an example, public events, right? So what a public event is, you can roam around any of the planets in Destiny and just shoot things, right? Find treasure, loot things or whatever, try to get different gear from each planet has a different gear set. And while doing that, it's okay to like run into like public events. And during the course of public events, if 5 people happen to be there, well, guess what? Now you have a 6 versus 1 public event, and it feels cool. It goes so much faster.
Yeah.
It doesn't ramp up the difficulty. It doesn't add more enemies.
It can ramp
heroic-
up the difficulty,
yeah.
but that's up to the players. Like,
Right. Yeah.
If the players can get coordinated and do whatever it is that you need to do in order to unlock the heroic version of that event, then suddenly it's a lot more difficult, but you also get much
Rewarding.
better rewards.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's something that the players kind of have to do consciously. So like if I'm running around on a planet and I find myself by myself, which doesn't usually happen because the coding in Destiny is really smart. When you start a public event, it'll shunt people into your instance is the best way I could call it.
Yeah.
So what'll usually happen is if that doesn't happen, if I'm by myself, cool, I'm not making that event heroic. I'm just doing it by myself. But if I run into, like I said, 5 more people, I'm like, well, if we do this normal, it's going to be super easy.
No, you have to solo all the heroics, especially when there's no one else.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
it is
Yeah.
a nightmare.
It's a good challenge for good players.
I've been
So get good.
I can't tell you. I've been like, in the few hours I've played, like I've accidentally come across a couple of these, and enemies will just like I'm really low level right now. I'm just like level 5. Enemies will just like kill you. You'll
Yeah.
just
Oh, yeah.
accidentally
Oh, yeah.
aggro an enemy when you're running to another mission, and an enemy will just like come out of nowhere and snipe you in one shot.
Yeah, I mean the core mechanics of the game, it's like any looter, shooter, whatever you want to call it. It's a power fantasy, right? The things that kill you now 10 levels of XP and 15 power levels from now, you're going to absolutely destroy. It's going to feel so easy. And you're going to be like, how did those captains ever kill me? You know what I mean? Like, it's going to just be something that happens. You're going to have weapons that wreck them. You're going to have weapons that, counter their types of shields. And so you grow in power as you go, but not just in gear and in ability as a player. You're like, oh, wow, he's got an arc shield. I have an arc gun. I'm going to break his shield in 5 shots and then shoot him in the face.
Or, well, also because you slowly unlock your subclasses as well.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a lot in the game that you grow as a player. But you also grow in gear level and everything. So you get better, your gear gets better, everything gets better along the way. So I mean, when you were saying, like it feels slow at the beginning, well, obviously the prologue is for people who played Destiny 1, and I think that's probably a mistake to start out there because I don't think it has any kind of emotion for people jumping into Destiny in a weird way.
It's utter nonsense.
Yeah,
to
and
people who played the first Destiny.
But
mechanically, I think it's also sort of a mistake to rob you of your cool powers,
right?
Because it makes some of the they made the mistake of including sort of platforming sections while you don't have your powers, so you have to time your jumps exactly right, or you end up in these endless pits that are hard to jump out of. That happened to me at least twice, and I got super frustrated.
Like on your way to the farm, right?
Yeah.
Like at the very, very beginning. Yeah, I thought it would just kill you.
Yeah,
if
I
you
thought
missed those jumps.
Just let me die.
That sounds like
Don't
maybe
leave me.
it got a bug for you, Merve.
I think if you die anywhere, it just takes you right to the farm or right to the cutscene that introduces you to the farm, right?
Yeah, I think that happened to me.
Yeah. So
I know that there's a point towards the end of that little platforming section where you are the game tells
you can't make.
Yeah, exactly. So that definitely does it.
This wasn't it. This was I fell in a hole between there's a broken bridge, and I fell in a creek, and you can jump out of it, but it takes 10 minutes of maneuvering around rocks. I just got unlucky, but it's such an easy mistake to make.
For you, that section plays totally differently because for us, it's oh, I died, big deal. My ghost is going to bring me back, and that's what that game is trying to tell you at that point. Is that no, your ghost is not here to bring. You don't have the power of the light anymore. So if you die, you die.
Can't be resurrected.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what that was trying to convey to old players. Whereas for new players, it doesn't feel like that, right? It's just well, okay, I died in a dumb platforming section. Now I've got to redo it. That's stupid. Whereas of course, spoiler alert, you gain your ghost abilities back, pretty relatively quickly in that game, and you're back to being, a walking god. But for what it is right now, it's its own thing.
It's also really the only way that they could narratively reset your character.
Right.
I don't think there's any other way that Bungie could have stripped down all of the players' equipment and levels from Destiny 1 without basically doing what they did in that intro.
And I'm okay with that. I mean, Destiny 2 as a reboot makes sense to me. I mean, I feel like they made enough mistakes and didn't open it up to enough wider audience. And I think as soon as they said, yeah, we're going to do a PC version, it makes sense to reboot Destiny 2, right? If they just did Destiny 1, 0.5 or whatever you want to call it, an expansion pack that all of a sudden added PC players in, it would have felt weird. Right, I mean, if I was running around with, as my God mode Destiny 1 character with people who just started out, I don't know if anybody would want to replay.
I mean, they could just say you're playing a different Guardian.
Yeah, but I mean, people are tied into their Guardians. I mean, make no mistake, people are all about who their Guardian was.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I just made one of those ugly alien dudes and made him green because I thought it was funny.
And I don't know if you saw it, but. Did any of you guys play on the same system you played Destiny 1, or are you playing Destiny 2 on the same system that you're playing Destiny 1 on?
No, I'm PC.
There's it basically relives your Destiny 1 experience in a montage. In a very emotional way. It shows when you completed the raids, and it has your guardian at various key moments, beating the Taken King, stuff like that. Very kind of
fan servicing?
your guardian did something in this world, So I always thought that was kind of cool. Now, PC players, even if you played on PS4, you don't get that. It's just like, yeah, sorry, your Guardian's brand new, just like everybody else's. So yeah, that kind of is missed out if you switch to PC. But they definitely wanted to reward people. You know, they made a big deal about saying, yeah, your Guardian mattered, your Guardian did stuff, but this is a new story.
Well, I don't know if any of you guys have have any of you guys played WoW or any other long-running MMO? Because I mean, like pretty much any MMO, they're going to do fan servicey stuff for
absolutely
to reward their long-term players. So
WoW is one of those games where people are right now in a lot of the angry, world of talking about Destiny 2. People are pointing to WoW a lot and saying this is why you never do a true sequel. You just keep doing expansions. But at the same time, WoW's not one of those games, even though I played the shit out of it and quit around Cataclysm, I'd never go back to WoW right now, right? I mean, because could you imagine all the stuff that you would have to do just to get back to where everybody else who kept playing is, as well as all the stuff that doesn't even matter anymore? Do people even go to the Barrens anymore? It seems like...
Oh, of course. That's where all the erping is.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, like, I don't really want to talk about WoW or other MMOs other than as a point of reference. Like, they do make it easy in WoW to catch up, but, like... yeah,
I think Destiny's way of saying, you'll catch up is by basically removing everyone's power and saying, cool, you're the same Guardian, but now you're the only one, for most of the story, you're the only one who has this. And that's a smart way to do it. But by the end, it makes sense. Okay, everybody's got their light back. Everybody's, back to being helped by the Traveler. The Traveler is its own thing now.
But and then how do they justify co-op if there's only one Guardian?
Well,
is it the same way they do on Halo? They're like 5 Master Chiefs?
Well, no, what happens is like it's a very easy minor detail to miss, but like once you get back to the farm after you've unlocked your superpowers, your ghost makes a comment of, "Oh, hey, looks like other people have found their superpowers too," so that's cool. And it's a one-line toss-off, but that's narratively how they justify.
Yeah, the idea is that the Traveler has, when the Traveler was blown apart, right? Shards of it kind of landed everywhere, and everybody goes out and finds their own shard, which in reality is the same shard, right? Everybody goes through it mechanically, it's the same one. But other people went out and found shards of the Traveler and were able to siphon off just enough of their light to fuel their ghost. The ghost being, more or less powered by the Traveler. So it basically says, hey, all these other people must have done the same thing we did and found shards, and are back at it like we are. Which of course, doesn't make sense because, 1 million people didn't all find shards, but it's enough to understand.
Minor details.
Yeah, this is why I can find 3 other people to run a strike with, even though we're
all level 5 and we all had our superpowers for all of 30 seconds.
So. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's a lot of kind of like, stuff like that in the early days of Destiny 2, but where I kind of am with the story right now is I feel like it's we faced gods, we faced monsters, and it's kind of the same problem WoW has, right? Once you've killed Illidan, once you've killed all the Lich King, once you kill all these different characters, where do they go? To the well for more enemies?
You go to the home planet of the Legion and you blow it up.
Right.
Which
like, how many more planets are you gonna blow up in this game?
All of them.
Yeah,
all the planets.
I mean, we're getting outside of our universe at some point. I'll promise you that.
Yeah, all I know about the story is that the evil people want to blow up the sun or something like that.
So
for
kind of.
Destiny.
Yeah.
So the Cabal more or less are giant space realm, right? But what they're really doing is testing you. They're testing the light. They're testing the power of the Traveler because they feel like they're the strongest, right? And that's kind of like they operate on this big code of strength and honor, and it's very kind of one of those things. So when they hear that there's this force out there, this light, that makes people unstoppable, they want to go out there and test you. So one person kind of gets it in his mind, well, he's going to harness this light. And
I was going to say, it's not just that they're testing it, it's that, the main antagonist, like, his goal is to become a guardian. Like,
right. But spoilers from the raid, the Red Legion is kind of operating outside of what the goal of the Cabal itself is. When you finally beat the Emperor Callus, he's like, I'm not here to try to kill you guys. I'm here because you guys think you're hot shit, and I want to see if you are,
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of hints that whenever there's been the light, the light from the Traveler, there's also been its opposite, darkness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of saying, look, you can be way more powerful with the darkness, because that's more or less what they've done. They've embraced the other side of the light that's made them stronger. So, I mean, that's kind of strongly hinted at, that when you wake up the Traveler and it blasts its light throughout the universe, if you watch that last second cutscene.
Whoa. Wait, is it literally just called The Darkness with like a capital D?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I mean, come on now. This is Bungie. Like, that's how they name everything.
But I mean, it's not.
I know, right? It's super creative, very original.
Yeah.
It's not something
10 out
they've
of 10.
created just for it, though. I mean, the darkness is strongly hinted at in Destiny 1, right? I mean, it says, like, the Traveler has always been trying to escape something. It's been running from place to place to place, trying to find people who will help it stop the darkness.
In Destiny 1, anyway.
Well,
Like,
yeah. So
that was a term from the original game.
So the Fallen, for example, are one of the places where the Traveler stopped first, right? So the Traveler stopped there, it kind of ascended the Fallen to what they are now, and then for whatever reason, it started moving again. I haven't read. I know that I think in the lore, the Fallen's plan is wiped out, but they're kind of like fanatics. Like they worship the Traveler and they follow it from each stop, and that's why they end up on Earth, right? The Hive, kind of the opposite, wherever they're hoping that the darkness shows up wherever the Traveler shows up. So they're kind of like the advance party to find out. The Cabal that you fight in the first game are kind of like a scouting party trying to figure out what this thing is.
Okay. The Hive reminded me a lot of the Flood.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, they are. I mean,
Yes.
So there's a lot going on with why each alien species is where they are in terms of the story, but ideally what you want and what you get is a reason for all of them to exist in the kind of the same world, but in practicality gives you something different to shoot rather than the same guys over and over again.
Which is nice. I appreciate enemy variety.
Yeah.
Although the thralls are really annoying because they just gang up on you.
I don't know if you've seen the exploding ones yet.
Oh, I've met the exploding ones.
Yeah.
Those are even worse
They're
because
the
I
best.
meleeed them and they explode
then-
right
yeah.
in my face.
They're like, oops.
So, yeah, I shouldn't have done that.
My Striker Titan did not like those exploding thralls.
Yeah. So the story has always been set up, right, for there to be, a darkness versus light type story. And but the problem is that we've never really seen the darkness. We've seen worshippers of the darkness. We've seen people powered by the darkness with the Taken King and whatnot. But, the darkness being awoken and coming for us is kind of a big shift in the game, because that's what you see kind of in that little post-credit stinger. Spoilers. I mean, we're talking nothing but Destiny 2. The main story probably takes 8 hours to beat anyway. We see that, when the pulse went out from the Traveler, the darkness is awake, more or less, and it's coming.
Well, we don't know if it's the darkness because they don't label it, even though it totally is. But yeah. Maybe not. But
Yeah.
yes. But
Probably
maybe.
is.
Yeah.
So the story's going somewhere. I think that's what you could probably, the most you could ask for a series like this, is to kind of keep moving forward in terms of a plot. And I think most people are enjoying kind of where it's going. But I think at some point you're either on board or you're not for the Destiny series for the story. Or if you're just, I just want to be a badass and a looter shooter. That's fine too. But the story,
To be honest, probably most players aren't paying attention to the
No,
story. And
I
that's
would
nothing to
say-
say about its quality. It's just that people
well,
don't,
part of it is
like, that's not why they're playing Destiny.
No,
They're
yeah,
not
it's
playing
an
it for
online
lore.
multiplayer shooter. Like,
They're playing it because their friend bought it.
right.
And
Yeah.
they want someone to play
And
together.
part of that is kind of Destiny's fault, because to be honest, as good as one did some things, what it did horribly was tell the story, tell any kind of story. It was through an offline system where you would go read about it somewhere else in what's called the grimoire. You would go out and read, okay, so here's where I found out all this stuff about this. And a lot of the lore was explained through very kind of out of the way places, which, some people love for stuff like Dark Souls. But when Destiny 2 or Destiny 1 did it, people were kind of like, well, you got to tell the story in a way that most people understand, because most people, like you're saying, are just there to go shoot stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the other problem I heard is that in development, the scope of the story changed significantly.
Yeah. There was a book written about how fucked up Destiny's development was.
Yeah, it's a chapter in Jason Schreier's book.
Right. And more or less, I mean, this game had a very distinctly different story that I think about 8 months before release was completely scrapped. And they
wow.
Yeah, they shit out what became Destiny 1, which was more or less no story. I mean, there are so many plot points in Destiny 1 that get no ending or no kind of payoff ever.
Do you know why they rewrote the story?
I don't know if I've only know what I've read, and a lot of it involved basically a big studio turnover. Where certain people were let go and their vision for the game more or less was taken out, because what they wanted to do was, instead of telling the story in one big dump of what was vanilla Destiny 1, they wanted to spread it out over the life of the seasons of the game, which is what you kind of get. You kind of get the story of Destiny 1 broken out over 2 or 3 expansions, right? Including stuff like the Taken King, the Court of Oryx, all that sort of stuff. It's all more or less there, without missing a ton of stuff from the Awoken, who are just kind of, for no real reason, wiped out. So it all kind of made it into the game, but in a weird way. They kind of wanted to space out the storytelling. A lot of the more cynical people, of course, it's so they could sell DLC, which, yeah, some of that might be true. But if you got the whole story from the base game, I think it would have been a lot harder to do some of that storytelling as you went on. Without creating entirely new scenarios, because if you think about like the Taken King alone, right? That's a pretty big shift when a god shows up and starts putting these things and taking enemies and doing things with them and transforming and mutating them. It's kind of a big part of a story to just stick into the base game. So I think when they started to envision things like raids, that's when they wanted to get more of the story in, because Destiny 1 has kind of this unwieldy thing going on where, for example, Oryx, you kill Oryx in the story, right? But then you also go and kill Oryx in the raid, just a harder, more powered up version of him, right? Mm-hmm. So
I haven't played the raid for Destiny 2 yet, but I know that narratively they have a really good, clever workaround for, hey, I killed the leader of the Cabal, and now I'm killing him again this week.
Yes.
And I'll kill him again next week. And
right.
I'm going to do that until I get all of my items that I want.
Exactly. The strikes still don't make sense why you're doing strikes over and over again, but they've basically given you a reason now why you're doing the raid over and over, because that's the thing in any MMO, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be a logical leap. Why do you kill Illidan every other week in WoW? You got to have,
somebody's got to be reincarnating
right,
somewhere.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
well,
I mean,
WoW, at least, like, they just kind of, like, the dungeons and the raids, like, they... Like you can beat them once, and that's the story is you beat it once and then you're done. But for the people who are going to be playing it, week after week to try to get their items and their gear, they don't really care about the story.
Right.
It's interesting. And I'm saying this as the former hardcore raider, but it's the story is secondary.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, it's cool to kill the Lich King, but I what's more important to me is I need his loot. So yes, now that he's dead, give me my shiny purples, so that I can be happy. And I think Destiny does a really good job of, well, initially handling that. I think one of the complaints that people have right now with Destiny 2 is the lack of endgame content. And the fact that Destiny it is an MMO, and MMOs, you need endgame content because that is where the majority of gameplay is going to be. So right now they've done a very good job of giving a very narratively satisfying and very interesting leveling experience, but their endgame content is pretty lacking. You've only got one raid. You've got the strikes, which will not get you to item cap, and then you have the nightfalls, which also I don't think
doable once a week, really.
Right. Yeah. I mean, same with the raid. Like,
I don't want to make a ton of excuses for Destiny, but I mean, one raid sounds about right for MMOs at release. If you guys really think about where most MMOs release, if WoW's probably
WoW had 2 or 3 at release. You had Naxxramas, and
it definitely didn't have Naxxramas at release. It just had Molten Core. No, it was just Molten Core, and it was a very broken Molten. I'm not gonna try to brag. I was like in a world first top tier WoW guild in vanilla all the way up through AQ. And so, I mean, Molten Core was broken beyond belief at release for people who were bleeding edge, top level gear people. RAG was basically unkillable. If you killed RAG 1.0, it was like a sign that your guild was like very, very good. They had to make a ton of changes to him because the only way you could beat the fight is to stack 1 million of a class. But I wouldn't expect too many MMOs to release today with maybe 2 raids. If we're talking, raids, I would expect maybe 1 or 2. And I think Destiny is on the right track with, for PC players, I don't know if you guys feel this way. I feel like this DLC is coming super quick, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Like, I was
for
surprised.
PC players, yes.
Yeah.
It's
For
probably
PS4
planned
players,
pretty early.
though.
Like,
yeah, I know, right?
When I logged in last week and I saw that season 1 was ending, I was like, "Holy shit, already!" Like that was my initial reaction. Whereas PS4 people were probably like, "Finally!"
I mean, this game came out was it late August or early September?
I think
It's
late
been
Early
out.
September for console, late October for PC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been out for kind of a while for not having any new content. At least for PS4 players, you said like 3 or 4 months with no really new content at all. And that's kind of a long time for an MMO.
I agree. I think they probably should have little content drops here and there, but I think what they say is, well, we release the raid, then we release the prestige raid, right? So if you're one of those, because let's be honest, I mean, you're going to get item cap. If you're a hardcore person, you're going to get item cap no matter what. And I think their answer was, well, then go do the prestige raid, which I think people are rightly saying the prestige raid does not give you rewards kind of commensurate with the effort.
Right.
you're not getting the kind of stuff that you really should be getting. So I don't know. I mean, I haven't really tried on PC. Like I'm saying, I feel like pacing wise, it's fast. I haven't done the PC prestige nightfall or the prestige raid just because we're still teaching people the raid. So I mean, it's kind of a weird spot. But I'm it's hard to read for me the Destiny 2 subreddit. I've actually had to go out and subscribe to something called Low Sodium Destiny on Reddit. Because
That's
I'm serious.
great.
It's
great
basically
name.
like, look, here's the stuff you need to read about Destiny. Here's the important stuff, but it's not just the complaints that are it's the same complaints over and over and over, and the subreddit is just poison. I mean, it's just so bad right now, and I'm not a big fan of Reddit at all, but I use it for video games, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because it's usually where you go
sorry.
to. Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned this to somebody earlier. Subreddits, when you're browsing subreddits, it's like Russian roulette.
Yeah.
Like most fandom subreddits are all right, but every once in a while you just come across one that's so disgusting and toxic.
Yeah.
Like it runs the gamut from like the Dragon Age and Mass Effect ones being relatively sane to like the Arrow subreddit, but for like the TV show Arrow, which
the Punisher one.
yeah, the Punisher subreddit, just like it's just been overrun by misogynist jerkwads.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. So, it really runs the gamut, and I think Destiny 2 is probably not as bad as Arrow, which is like an extreme, but it's still probably pretty
Yeah, and that's where I'm at with it right now is like I don't go to the other one, even though that's probably it's the big one, it's where all the stuff is. But like, how many times can you hear people make the same complaint in the same way, in the same kind of like the way they like
demanding
speak
tone?
Yeah, and it's like I speak for everyone, and I don't like this. I'm like, whoa, I like it,
Welcome
like
to the internet, though. Like that's just that's
Yeah.
kind of how they've been forever.
Like, did you guys do the faction rally at all? The faction rally event?
little
I
bit.
did a little bit of that. Yeah.
It was all right, right? I mean, like it could have been better, but I mean, I felt like it was okay for what it was. But the amount of way people talked about faction, I was like, this is complete garbage. I'm like, it's all right. I mean, it's a little thing that you do, once a month or however often it's going to come along, and it felt okay to me. It felt like something that was cool. And the complaints, and it's the same with Iron Banner, which does have a problem. Don't get me wrong. The fact that I got 15 packages and didn't complete an armor set is ridiculous. But they're fixing that. They've addressed that. But there's a lot going on there that I just kind of I don't know, guys. I mean, I just kind of feel like I don't need to hear the same complaints over and over again. But so I went to low sodium Destiny,
Right.
and I get all that without of it. So the fact that subreddit even exists to me tells you that, all you really need to know. But yeah, Destiny's in a weird spot right now because people hate it for lots and lots of reasons. And there are problems, but
a mixture of legitimate and less legitimate ones.
Yes.
What gets me the most is a lot of people compare year 3 Destiny 1 to year 1 Destiny 2. And it's just, of course it's not the same. Like, you haven't had a lot of the same stuff. It doesn't make sense why some of the quality of life things that people complain about didn't make it from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2. But you can tell they tried to do a lot with new systems, right? They tried to do some different stuff with the token system rather than just the straight up drop system. The way the light or power levels work kind of has a lot more intricacies to it. They added mods in there, which I think are probably not
for like your
out.
armor and weapons.
Yeah, they're probably not as fleshed out as you want them to be, but they make your character different in some of the same ways that that you used to be able to get through exotics or through other things. So it makes exotics a little weaker feeling, but you've got mods on top of that. So they did a lot of changes all at once that I'm not 100% sure were fully integrated into the game, but probably will feel more so as time goes on, So I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to hate Destiny 2 anyway near as much as some people do. But
I know that with Destiny 2, they definitely streamlined and simplified a lot of the more finicky stats. Like
Absolutely.
In Destiny 2, there's only like 3 stats. You've got like armor, recovery, and then mobility. And that's it. And then you have your power level. What's been the like? How was the community felt about that?
They hate it. They hate everything.
I mean, I kind of figured, but
Yeah.
like, I do think that is honestly a better approach. Like,
100%.
Yeah, like you
And then
definitely
what you
don't
do is
need that many stats.
You put the reload speed or you put the grenade recharge or the melee recharge in item mods, right? I mean, so
Or into the class kit itself.
yeah, and it's all there, right? I mean, it's all still in the game, but so I mean that's where it gets frustrating, right? It's because people act like other things don't exist or other changes in the game don't exist when they do. It's just they were moved to certain spots. Exotics feel weaker, right? Exotics aren't like they were in Destiny 1. When you got an exotic, sometimes it was a game changer. But it also created a situation, and Radio, you played a lot of Destiny 1. You might be able to attest to this, where if you didn't have a Galahorn, you didn't get into raids. I'm not even lying. Like, they were like, no, you need this weapon to even go into a raid, right? So I'm sure somebody looked at that and was like, we can't have that again. Exotics got to be cool, and neat, but they can't change the fact that you can't do certain things because you don't have one. So I think that was a smart change to make exotics weaker. And then what you do is if you want to customize your character, you do so in other ways. And it sounds like, I don't know if you guys have seen the new changes, but it sounds like they're taking that even further with masterwork weapons, which are legendaries that
I've heard about that. But...
It sounds cool as shit. I don't even know how else to put it. It sounds really cool.
I'm excited for that a lot.
Because I mean, if you got that legendary that just fits your play style, right? It's just that gun that's right. I mean, even if it's not like how they say this gun is in the meta right now, right? Obviously, if you played PvP,
Mine a multi-tool.
yeah, or Uriel's gift, I can't, or Better Devils,
Right.
So if your gun's in the meta, cool. But if it's not, if it's right on that bubble, I love a gun called Half Dan D. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's one of those hake, however you pronounce it, guns. It looks very cool. It's very kind of like futuristic, but not. It's just my favorite gun. It's an assault rifle that shoots slow but hits super hard. So like that's the gun I like to use, but it's not in the meta. But maybe with this new Masterwork system, I can make that gun to be exactly how I want it. And customizing your gun in a cool way in Destiny is what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know where they're going to go from here. But it sounds like they're hearing a lot of the different complaints about the game, and they canceled the live stream last week, obviously, and said, look, here's where we're at with this game. Here's a lot of the stuff that you guys have complained about, and I feel like they went point by point by point and addressed everything except for two things. One, vault space. It sounds like their solution of vault space is instead of having to have vault space, everything's going to just kind of be a kiosk. Like if you unlocked the chest of Alpha Lupi, you can still go buy it from the vendor. You don't have to keep it in your vault anymore. So the only things you need to keep in your vault probably are going to be things that you dye or that you equip with special mods or stuff like that. But if you just want access to the gun or the armor or whatever, it's still going to be there. So that's nice. Kind of, I think, one of their solutions to it. But how that works out, I don't know. So it sounds like they didn't address that vault space. And people hate the current PvP style of gameplay. I love it. So I'll take that with a caveat. But people hate the team shooting meta that is PvP right now. If you've played any kind of PvP, you know what that means. Instead of it just, 1 versus 1 and the quickest, fastest draw with the best gun wins, it's not that anymore. The guy who brings backup to the firefight is the guy who wins, right?
Isn't that how it should be?
I would have thought so. Yeah.
So
is that not how Destiny 1's PvP worked?
No, not really. I mean, in Destiny's 1 PvP, the reason it was so popular with Twitch streamers and a lot of like the PvP grognards, right, was if you were a badass, an absolute demon at PvP, you could change the game. I mean, you could, just you on your own could go out and wipe out a whole enemy team by using supers right and switching in and out of power weapons and shotgun, doing the little skid across the ground with a shotgun and killing 2 guys and swapping over to a different one. That's what they wanted, right? Those types of hardcores and PvPs, that's what they wanted. Whereas Destiny 2, like, no, you bring your team with you to a fight and everybody engages at different ranges, and you've got 1 or 2 grenades to throw. Your supers come a little bit slower, about once a match. So, I mean, if you blow your super, you got to save your super. It makes sense, right? Yeah. So people don't like that, but to me, it feels more like what PvP is supposed to be in Destiny. It's a crucible, right? It's like you go out there with your team and fight together and
yeah. I really
don't you want that more tactical experience in a co-op shooter anyway?
It depends on who you ask, right? To me, I love it. Yeah. I think most people enjoy it, but what some people want is to carry that power fantasy from PvE to PvP, right? You're just this,
right.
Amazing.
They want a dick measuring contest.
Right, but when you're not the guy with the big dick, it sucks, right? Because you just
it's also not very well. It's not a very good PvP experience. That kind of power imbalance. You definitely need to have it balanced where, for team matches, whoever has the better team coordination should be the winner.
Right.
even if I have, let's say
slightly more powerful weapons.
Say I'm the number one PvP Destiny in the game, and I've got a team of 3 noobs who don't coordinate and are off, throwing themselves off a cliff. If I'm fighting against, a coordinated team of average or slightly to above average, then yes. I absolutely should lose to those 4 players because it's 4 versus 1. That's how it should be.
And we were. It's kind of funny you mentioned that. Me and Nemrex for our clan, we're just kind of trying to go through, get our Crucible challenges done for the week, and we ran into Slayer Rage who, if you play Destiny, you know the guy. He's a streamer. He's the kind of guy who literally duos the raid. Him and another guy go out, kill the raid. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, he's God mode, right? We played him in PvP. He stomped us. Don't get us wrong, but I mean, you could feel like he would know when to fight and when not to fight. So he plays the game smart in a way. So like when we would basically play against him, he would see, okay, well, I'm outgunned in this fight. I'm going to back off. And he would live to fight another day. And that's how people are adapting to this style.
I mean, that's how it should be.
Right. But, in Destiny 1, he probably would have just went, I'm just going to kill all these noobs, Whereas now he's like, okay, and he would back up. He still crushed us, obviously, but he knew when to pick his fights and when not to, which I thought was cool. Because it's probably not as cool to watch on his stream, haha, look at this guy stomp all these noobs. But for me playing him, it felt like, yeah, we probably don't have a chance to win this one, but I still can learn and I still can fight and I still can be competitive in a way.
It's hard to sort of satisfy, as developers, to satisfy both the demands of streamers and the demands of the people, like
the rest of the gamers,
playing the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's where we're at right now, right? And most of the complaints about where Destiny 2 is they're having to balance the casuals and the hardcore, right? And it has solutions. It has Prestige Rage. It has Prestige Nightfalls. It has the Trials of the Nine, which is the hardcore PvP mode. So it's all built into the game. It's just, I think what's happening right now is there's a reward imbalance, right? So if you're a God Mode Trials player, you don't necessarily get better stuff than me, who just kind of limps through a challenge once a week and gets it completed. I'm okay as a casual. I'm not casual PvP player. I'm okay if they get better rewards. I just want them to be better rewards suited for PvP, not you have to play Trials to get this gun so that you can do the raid. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I mean that's how most games structure their rewards. Like, for the hardcore, like, high tier PvPers, you get the better PvP gear, and the same thing for PvE. So,
and I'm okay with that. If you're a Trials player and you want a God Mode gun for PvP, great, go get it. But I don't know. I mean, I play with my wife and my kid a lot, right? My kid 5 he turns 5 on 13th. My wife, this is her first video game almost ever that isn't a Mario game. And they're able to do stuff in that game that they think is cool, is fun, and they are the definition of casual, right? My kid loves doing strikes, right? And how do we treat strikes, right? Like, oh my God, another strike. This is going to be so boring, right?
Yeah.
Whereas for him, it's like, oh, Dad, we're going to do Sabathun's song. This is going to be so cool, So there is a market. There is a group of people who treat this game totally differently, right? And my kid, he doesn't care if the gun he gets isn't in the meta. He uses fucking Scathe Lock, which I think is the worst assault of the game. But he likes it, and he dyed it red, even though the rest of his armor is all blue and green and whatever. So, I mean, I don't know where you go with a game like that, where you've got to balance it for him, and you got to balance it for the guy who does nothing but raid 24/7. I don't have a good answer, but I think that where Destiny's going to go and where it's going to end up is just basically separate gear sets, right? Here is your PvP gear. Here is your PvP set. This is what you use if you PvP. It's Trials gear. It's Crucible gear. It has nothing but recovery and, benefits that help
mobility.
PvP. Yeah. Whereas I think that where it goes from PvE side is going to be the Masterworks, right? So, hey, you really like this assault rifle? Cool. Add more stability to it. Add more rounds to the magazine. Stuff like that, I think, is where it goes PvE-wise.
I mean, you can sort of already do that, right? You can just leave one set of weapons aside for PvE and another set of weapons aside for PvP.
Yeah.
It's not like there's like an inventory limit, right?
Absolutely. But where it gets hard, and this is, I don't know, the classic example for this to me is, did you guys ever play, I wanted to say Battleborn, but it's not Battleborn. It's such a common game. It's
Overwatch?
No, Borderlands.
Borderlands.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
the other Gearbox shooter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So Borderlands had a lot to it where it was like, if you ever tried their equivalent of the raid in Borderlands, which was like that giant worm thing, or that, like, I don't know if you guys played any of that, kind of like co-op-ish Borderlands.
Yes.
A little bit.
Absolutely.
I loved it.
So do you know how? So if you loved it, you know how you needed the bee like the shield that was called the Bee. You absolutely needed it if you ever wanted to kill that worm, or you needed a gun that had this exact archetype with this exact mod that you hopefully randomly got somewhere along the line, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, I think Destiny looked at that and said, we can't do that in this type of game, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't make it so hopefully somewhere in your 50 hours of playing, you came across this one thing so that you can do this. Otherwise, good luck to you, you know? So I think they have to, balancing Destiny must be a nightmare. And I give them a lot of leeway, a lot more than the rest of the internet seems to, when it comes to some of the flubs that they've had. But where I think I could really agree with the angry internet is they've got to find a way to reward the hardcore people in a more substantial way other than just cosmetics, which are a cool thing, you know, obviously. Reward them with stuff that makes the hardcore style of playing easier or more rewarding or something to it, while keeping it fun for us casuals. On the flip side, one of the things I don't like is the way they're handling clans right now. We have a small clan of what do we got, like maybe 8 or 10 active players, right?
Probably.
We do the raid, we do our weekly stuff, we get it all done. But where they're kind of pushing clan support to is join a clan of 100 dudes that maybe never even play together, you know, but gets everything done every week and maxes out all the XP so that they get all the rewards. We hit clan rank 5 with most of us playing at PC launch, like last week. So, I mean, we can get there. You know, but and like I said, this is a short season for PvP. Oh, I'm sorry, for PC players. But I would really like it to be more about rewarding clan members for playing with clan members, no matter the size. So casual wise, I think that's a spot that they can improve. So, yeah, I mean, I've talked a lot about what I think about, you know, good and bad at Destiny, but just the gameplay alone right now, I want to kind of see what you guys think about, you know, the moment to moment shooting stuff.
I mean, it's really tight. Like it plays really well. I mean, because I really only played vanilla Destiny 1. I never really expanded, but you know, the core mechanics were always there, and I feel like they've just improved it and tightened up some things. And I mean, it's fun to play. It feels good and to shoot.
Right?
Kill things.
Yeah, it's a very satisfying like gameplay experience. Like even for someone who's like maybe not a very big fan of shooters, or isn't very good at shooters. Like I'm personally not that big a fan of shooter games myself, but I do really enjoy Destiny because like the gunplay is pretty satisfying, and with your supers and then your other like your melee and your grenade special abilities, like you feel like there are other ways to fight that aren't like solely about gunplay. Like the striker type
you can use the melee is always really fun to use.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Like
and the way they let you augment your melee now is really fun too, right?
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, and like certain classes like are built around that, like like strikers, like they're all about getting up there, punching your enemies to death, and then every time you murder someone with your punches, then you get health back, and I think it also like slightly recharges your grenade and melee ability, maybe not. And then,
even the
like power blocks are also kind of like that, where they're built all around the grenade usage.
Right.
So.
And just like when I've got one of each class, and when I play them, like what you're saying, like it feels so kind of different in a way, right? Like, oh, cool, I haven't played my my hunter in a while. I'm like, oh, I can throw my knife. That's right. Like,
right.
And the core gameplay feels really good. It's very rare to me in Destiny where I die and I feel like it was cheap or something that like I didn't do wrong. Even in the raid, you know, radio, you raided with us, and I mean, it you know, like sometimes there'll be little glitches here and there. So I'm not gonna say never, but you know, usually like you'll be like, oh wow, okay, yeah, I screwed that up. I should have done this in this order, or done this way, or I should have watched this. So even like in the course of a raid, I gotta say the raiding to me is the most rewarding thing about Destiny, right? Yeah. Taking 6 people, hopefully, you know, a bunch of buddies through it, learning it, doing it, making new friends, getting through it. It's really cool when you kill that final boss. I mean, I think everybody cheers, right? Like the first time, it's cool. And the cool part about it though is not just doing it with your buddies and getting through it and having all that fun, but the mechanics of the raid are all stuff that you have been taught slowly throughout the game, right? Like it's not like they introduce anything kind of like suddenly out of the blue to you too much. It's like, get this buff. It keeps you from taking damage. Jump here and do this. Click on this thing. It's all stuff that you kind of had here and there. So I really think it was smart that the game taught you stuff. And if you go back and create a second character after doing the raid, you'll be like, oh, that's why they had this stage that showed me how to do this, because all of a sudden I'm doing it in the raid, right? And the raid is very much about learning a job and doing it consistently over and over again. Like, not like boring repetition, but just like shoot this guy, do exactly this in kind of like a mechanical way, so that, you know, as long as you're doing the right thing and you don't screw up, you're gonna succeed. And I think that's a smart way to do kind of the first raid for Destiny players. Because later Destiny raids, you didn't have to know just your job, you had to know everyone's job, right? Which is kind of hard. You know, so like imagine if you had to know how to run, how to do this, how to do that. That's where Destiny 1 raids went. But right now it's just if you go inside of Callus, you know, into the Shadow Realm, learn that job. You don't even have to know what the guys in the throne room even do.
Exactly.
So learn your job, do it, and then you'll be fine. So I really enjoyed the raid. I enjoyed where we're at right now. I like playing with my wife, with my friends, with everybody, and it's brought a lot of people. What's weird in a weird way is I played a ton of WoW, so I've got a pretty populated Battle.net friends list. So when people started seeing me playing, you know, they started to trickle over, and now it's people from, you know, I haven't played games with in 10 years, jumping back together and playing all over again. So
nice bring the band back.
Yeah,
together.
exactly.
Right?
That's what it is. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping you guys are kind of enjoying it, because I sometimes feel when I talk or when I hear about Destiny, I kind of feel like I'm on an island sometimes, you know, of enjoying it.
Yeah. Like,
I'm having a really good time with it. I'm having a lot of fun. I don't play it like I've just been busy, but when I can, I like to play it and, you know, get all the shit done that I need to.
I've enjoyed it. The big problem I have is, like, I bought it for PS4 because a friend of both Merve and I was playing it on PS4, and that was kind of my gateway to it. But then he stopped playing, and I didn't know anyone else who played it, so it's like, it's not a very, like, satisfying solo game. I will definitely say that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean, the
finish
combat
the story-
encounters
Yeah.
are not designed to be soloed. Even like the way the enemies are placed.
I
throughout
can
a
only
level.
Some of
say
that.
kind of how
Like-
I played on PS4, and this might be true for you guys too. I don't know. When I played Destiny 1, I would kind of like pop in and out, right? Like I would kind of, you know, max out my character each expansion, do the raids, do the stuff I felt like I needed to do, and then I would kind of sit it out until the next expansion. So I would go through, like, you know, playing nothing but Destiny for a few weeks to kind of, I wouldn't even say burning out, just like, okay, there's not much left for me to do this expansion.
Right.
So hopefully your friends start to trickle back in next week.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
like Curse of
Like,
Osiris. Oh yeah,
he
Curse of Osiris. By the way, we're recording this on December 3rd. It's coming out in
right,
2
2 days. Yeah.
Yep.
So by the time you guys are listening to this,
It's probably
it will have
middle of
already
it
been
now,
out,
yeah.
and this podcast will be horribly outdated, and you have no reason to listen to it.
Hooray!
But I know what you're going through. It's not a fun single player game. I completely agree with you. It's about, like, even when I was playing a ton of Destiny 1, it was about getting my buddies together. Hey guys, what do you want to do tonight? Let's do trials, because let's get frustrated. Or like, let's do the
I
raid.
think- Like, I think I'd be, like, part of it is just I don't want to deal with the like, trying to find a community with just a whole bunch of randos, because I've done that in
Yeah.
games before, and, like, it's
Like 30% of them turn out to be racist.
it's a like, just a flaming dumpster fire until you find someone where it's, you know, just a nice, you know, little kindle of burning garbage.
Yeah, we usually have about 5 people from our clan per raid. So we sometimes have to bring up another person in, and I mean, we've had mixed results. I don't mind teaching people, so that part of it isn't necessarily what bothers me. But sometimes you get a person just for whatever reason they're not clicking. You know what I mean? They're just talking over
Oh, yeah.
everybody, or just, you know. So sometimes you kind of deal with what you get. But for the most part, I use Destiny LFG for, I would say, 7 out of 10 times I end up with pretty good groups. I mean, groups that are at least going to get the raid done. Sometimes you get people who talk more. Sometimes you get people who barely talk, but I always try to look for, whenever I put my little advertisement, I always try to look for chill or relaxed groups. Like, I don't want to get yelled at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you'd rather have fun and lose the raid than
Our
like,
very first time
deal with jerks and win.
Yeah, our very first time we raided, it was me and a bunch of my friends. We're all very accomplished Destiny 1 players. We just never done the raid before. We all watched the videos. We all kind of got the idea for the mechanics. And we get a guy coming in there, and we do the very first thing, which is opening some of these gate type things. And he's like, "This is sloppy," and you're like, "What the fuck?" It's our first time,
Right.
And then we try the first boss, and he's just getting more and more angry, and I just kicked him from the group. And he was like, "I knew I shouldn't have done this." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll make this decision for you." And I just kicked him from the group because it wasn't worth it for me to get it done with a guy who knew what he was doing and was walking us through every step. It wasn't worth the annoyance of having somebody talk to everybody else like that and make my friend's first raid shitty, So I was like, no,
Yeah,
you just
you
leave.
don't want to deal with condescending pricks.
Yeah, and we got a guy who instead was like, "Cool, man." He's like, "I used to play this game a ton on PS4. I know it all, and I love teaching you." And in Destiny, they call it a Sherpa, right? I'm going to Sherpa you through the raid, which is just the same idea as Mount Everest, right? I'm going to put you on my back and get you to the
Koala style.
And so we found a guy who literally walked us through everything, and it felt so cool because he wasn't belittling us. He was saying, "Hey, man, I'm just going to help you out. This is why you died. If you've got a good shotgun in your bank, go grab that, come back, and it's going to make this easier." Bathers, if you guys have done the raid. So it felt cool, right? And then now when Radio joined us for what was maybe our second or third raid, we had the exact same kind of experience, right?
Yeah.
I was able to say, "Cool, Radio, this helps a lot. Jump in here, do this, do that." And he was able to, he had no problems jumping in and getting the raid done with us.
Yeah, it was a good learning experience, and I felt like everyone was just really patient and everyone was on board. And when someone made a mistake, it wasn't like, "Oh, fuck you, man, we take forever." It's like, "Oh, it's all right. We're getting close. We're just gotta
Because we've all been there. I mean, that's the thing about starting people with us. We were all there, so I think it's a lot easier to just sit back and say, "Yeah, man, let me help you through this." So that's the part of Destiny that I think when it really shines. And one of the community managers from Destiny took a ton of shit for this, but he said the end game of Destiny is friendship, right? And people lost their fucking minds, right? I mean, it was one of those
it's a lame line, but it's true, right?
When you've played Destiny enough, you get it. You're like, "I get it." I've met people who I now game with routinely, and it's just in Destiny, and we have a blast. You know what I mean? It really does feel like I've made friends, So I don't know. I get what he was saying. It sounds really dumb the way he said it. Don't get me wrong.
It sounds corny, but
Super corny and cheesy.
But the point is, if you create a co-op game, right, you want to be able to play with friends, right? You want to facilitate that.
Yeah. And that's why whenever I log into Destiny, it's rare that I don't look for one of my pals that's online and say, "Hey, man, I'm going to run some strikes. You want to get in on this?" They say no. Cool. I can usually manage to luck my way into a decent group. Or I'm at the point now where my character is 305. I can steamroll 90% of the stuff I need to do on a day-to-day basis. But at the same time, when my kid comes home from school and he's like, "Dad, I want to do a strike." Hell yeah, we're going to do a strike, buddy.
Nice.
So yeah, I don't know. He said that it was corny, it was cheesy, but I get it. That is the best way I can describe it. I get where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So before we call this to a close, one question I wanted to ask you guys is, I mean, it might be too early to tell, and we talked about this with regards to Halo, about the cultural influence it might have down the line. What do you think Destiny's cultural influence is going to be? Because it's one of the biggest franchises in gaming right now.
Yeah, I think we're seeing it with Anthem. I'm not gonna.
That wizard came from the moon. I think that will be Destiny's lasting cultural impact.
That Dinklebot.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
Calling it.
I don't want to call it a new genre because looter shooters have been a thing. I mean,
Borderlands and The Division as well.
Yeah, I don't think Destiny invented it, but I think Destiny is showing a little bit more how you need to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if whatever Borderlands thing actually comes out, has raids, has strikes, has a little bit more MMO to it than just what Borderlands was. Anthem looks like they're really just going to carry that Destiny mantle forward.
Anthem is just third person Destiny. Let's be real.
Yeah, but done by BioWare. So who story wise, I mean, I'm expecting them to knock it out of the park, right?
Is Anthem
I'm
MMO or is it a single player?
It's Destiny.
It's-
I mean, it's
Okay,
in almost every way.
It's Destiny by BioWare. It's EA has been looking for a Destiny killer, and because Ubisoft's got their Destiny in The Division, Activision's got 2 Destinies.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what they're like. 2K's got their Destinies in the form of Borderlands. So this is going to be
Yeah,
And I definitely think that Borderlands has as far as it's more like Diablo than
right.
Yeah.
Right. There's something about Borderlands that even though it's got humor, the world just kind of doesn't do it for me in a way that Destiny.
I love it. I love it so much.
I love the
that universe.
setting.
I'm interested to see what they can do with something that's a little more persistent, a little more co-op friendly, a little more drop in, drop out, shared world, whatever you want to call it. I'm interested to see what they can do with it. Anthem looks great. BioWare is a huge selling point for me. I'm interested to see what they can do with a game like this with the story, but
it certainly looks pretty. I'll give them that.
EA scares me a little right now. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
The whole Star Wars Battlefront controversy,
Yikes.
Shuddering
Yeah.
Visceral, they're not really in anybody's good graces right now. I mean, whether or
This
not
is
that's
only
fair.
what the 70th year running that they've been, on the shit list.
Yeah, and Destiny has some of that going on with the XP stuff that
Eververse.
Eververse for me though is complete. It's not even in the same league as what EA is doing with Battlefront. You could play Destiny for 20 years and never buy one Eververse package. It adds
It's purely
nothing.
cosmetic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in
Whereas
every
with Battlefront,
conceivable way.
it's pay to win right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
So
horrible.
when I hear people bring up Destiny in that same breath, I'm like, guys, I mean, honestly, I get where you're going. I get it's a time to be angry right now, but it's not even in the same universe of
I mean, I know I might get some shit for this. I would never buy a microtransaction ever, but I'm not as militantly against them as say somebody like Jim Sterling, who says any kind of microtransaction is poison. I would say cosmetic stuff I'm cool with.
Yeah.
But if it affects gameplay in any way, I'd say it's a no-no in a $60 game.
my thing is,
I think most people are willing to tolerate microtransactions for cosmetic shit because
right.
yes, it gives you something to spend your money on, and it's not going to affect gameplay. But once it transfers over to pay to win, that's just fucking bullshit.
Right,
Yeah.
and if you're a person who never buys microtransactions, I mean, legitimately never buys it, I think you should be kind of happy that there are people are out there who do buy it and are basically subsidizing your game, right? I mean, in a way,
Yeah,
they're keeping the game
I'm cool with it.
cheap for you.
I mean,
Like Overwatch, I love
Right.
that Overwatch keeps producing new stuff, and I'll pay for some boxes when it's a seasonal stuff. I'll try and get some skins because they're kind of cool, and I don't have to pay for anything else, not a monthly subscription or anything.
Right,
Right.
exactly, and it keeps Overwatch from being okay. Well, now we're going to release DLC for Overwatch, right? No, their DLC is their Halloween event
It
that's free.
split the player base pretty badly.
Yeah.
The Halloween mode, free for everybody. Cool. Some people are going to buy boxes, some people aren't, but it goes into the whole thing, right? Whether you buy a box or you don't buy a box doesn't matter. I still get the benefit of playing the Halloween mode, even though if I never bought a box, though you bought a ton.
Exactly.
So I mean that's kind of where I differ with people. Where there are going to be always people who play the gambling, and I hate that sometimes it's kids, but I'm okay with there being cosmetic loot boxes for the most part, and I think that's what Destiny has. I think I bought as kind of like a gift for my wife for getting level 20. I bought her 10 Eververse things, which maybe ran $8, $9, something like that.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I know.
No.
And I mean, she got a cool sparrow out of it and the ship, and I mean, it got her more excited about playing more. So I don't know. I mean, I think there's room in the gaming world for loot boxes and cosmetics done right. It's just, man, when we put
don't,
Darth Vader in one.
yeah, that's a
Don't-
big problem.
Don't make it seem like the progression system is reliant on microtransactions. And I would say 99% of the time, or even 100% of the time, just avoid anything that really affects gameplay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
microtransactions.
no, definitely 100% of the time avoid having gameplay impacting things.
Yeah. So, and I mean, I get where people are coming from when they say that like Kirk Hamilton has this new editorial on Kotaku where it's like microtransactions poison the well, and I get where he's coming from, but it's not necessarily an opinion I share because, and maybe I can say that because I'm not ever tempted to buy loot boxes, but
Like,
if this is the way we have to keep games sustainable, I'm okay with it. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I know some people don't believe the inflation argument or whatever, but games cost more to make now. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking AAA games than they ever have. I mean, I know Destiny 1 was like a $500 million game. I mean, you're damn right they're
Yeah.
going to sell season passes or DLC or, I mean, something to try to get some of that money back. Because even if that game sells like gangbusters, if you don't tie people in for the next 10 years like they're planning to, you're going to start losing money quick. So they've got to. I get games as services. I understand the idea behind it. The problem is that how do you be fair to the gamers who don't want to pay anything extra and not feel like they're getting ripped off versus people who, are going to be the whales who buy every damn thing? How do you make them feel like they're getting their money's worth at the same time? I mean,
well, then also like gambling addiction is a real thing, and loot boxes, like even if it's purely just cosmetic stuff, like that feeds the same sort of thing
Like
that
brain impulses.
gambling.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And-
So
and-
it's definitely like, especially with children, like who don't have that kind of impulse control, like there's definitely a conversation that needs to happen about how to like have these implemented, but not in a way that
Yeah.
will accidentally, ruin people's lives forever.
Yeah.
yeah. There's a reason they have this. Like they're starting to have this conversation at the legislative level in Europe and also in Hawaii right now.
Yeah.
I think I
mean,
don't know if I want to
that's
call it
Battlefront's fault. Let's be
Right.
real.
I
But
don't know if
I
I want to
mean-
call it the Activision way, but like I think the way Overwatch and Destiny handle it is as close to an elegant solution as you're going to find, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you still get loot boxes, you still get bright engrams just playing. I mean, people were asking me when this started being a controversy that, well, how I said I get a bright engram probably every 2 hours, 3 hours of gameplay.
It's not
I mean,
that
they're
hard.
no, it's not at
Right.
all. I'm like, you're basically swimming in cosmetics to the point where
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to get rid of some of these shaders. I mean, like,
Yeah.
my bank is, well, I'm like, I'm never gonna die on my shit.
Never get rid
Boreal.
of shaders.
Yeah.
All of them. Keep them
So-
all.
Just want to be like a rainbow character.
Yes.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a point in that game where I'm like, look, I don't need to hoard everything. So I swim in bright engrams. So when people are asking, and it's kind of like that in Overwatch too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you play more
Every
than I do
level.
radio. Yeah, every
Yeah.
level you're getting one, and you're getting levels every 4 or 5 matches sometimes.
Yeah, and if you do arcade, you can get like 3 more. Like
yeah,
you
once
know.
a week.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so if you're getting 10 loot boxes just playing or 10 bright engrams just playing over the course of the week, you never have to buy one.
exactly.
So I think it's an elegant solution because if some people want to shortcut their way to cosmetics, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
Yeah, pay for your skins.
Yeah.
Yup.
So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover with regards to
I got
Destiny.
just want to give an advertisement for our clan, Darkwing Dark Words. So if you're
Woo!
listening, please feel free to look us up. We're nothing but cool people. More, I think we got a couple
Yeah,
people on
Zach,
Xbox.
sounds like you got a clan to join.
I know,
man.
right? All I need to do is buy Destiny again.
All right. Well, thank you guys all for being here,
Yeah, thanks
and
for letting me
for our
choose the
listeners.
topic. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this is actually something we've been planning to do for a while because Kappa's like, we really should talk about Halo, and I we kept sort of putting it off because other topics kept getting in the way. And
Halo's been my thing so long. It kind of feels like
I
it's
never
just
would
now.
have guessed.
Yeah, it's kind of just now getting like I think cool to like shooters in a way. Do you know what I mean? Like for a long time, it was like, oh yeah, it's like might as well be playing Madden. But I think shooters are kind of doing their own thing, and I've been screaming from the mountaintops, guys. Halo's been doing this for a while. You just haven't been really paying attention.
I just don't think that people sort of. I mean, okay, I don't want to get onto a huge tangent here, but I think there's a tendency for people when they see something wrong with the game or something they don't appreciate or a genre that they don't think is artistically worthwhile, there's a tendency not to engage with it,
Right,
even when
right.
they're actually playing the game.
Well, it extends
Like you
the
see
move-
this like for shooters, you see this with JRPGs, you see this with sports games. There are a lot of very malign genres that people don't really engage with because of their prejudices,
Well-
and it's why people can say things like Call of Duty is jingoistic when it's actually extremely cynical.
Oh yeah, it's very anti-war in a lot of ways. But
Yeah.
you know what I think about Mad Max, Fury Road, right? How that came out a couple years ago, and all of a sudden it was kind of cool to like big, dumb, fun action movies again, right? And I'm like, you guys, they've been making this movie that you haven't been paying attention to for a while now. And like, I'm not kidding when I talk about go watch Punisher Warzone. It's the same kind of big, dumb action movie, you know, that's doing crazy stuff. And I mean, it's always been there. You just now are seeing it because you liked Mad Max. And I kind of feel that way about, you know, people are like, wow, Wolfenstein, they're doing a lot with shooters. And I'm like, they've always been doing stuff with shooters. You've just been missing it, you know?
Yeah. It's strange how the cultural conversation sort of shifts every now and then. And I think right now we're sort of in an upswing for shooters. Right now we're also sort of in an upswing for Japanese games.
Absolutely.
Which is really just like this year only it happened.
Right?
We'll see what happens next year.
God, I hope it's
when-
RTSs. That's please be RTS.
Yeah, it's been
in
a
a
while
fucking
since
desert.
like there's been a lot of like there hasn't been like a high profile AAA RTS in a while.
StarCraft
really.
2 is the only one I can really think of. And I don't really
Yeah.
consider the Total Wars RTSs, right? I mean, they're kind of their own thing. But man,
But they're
there's
so
Halo Wars
good,
2.
though.
yeah.
Not that.
Yeah, but that didn't hit really big.
So,
Um,
thanks for
yeah,
letting me
so
do
anyway.
it, though, Merve. I appreciate it. I hope actually, you know, people do too. But
No,
Yeah.
I think this is actually really fun, even for
Yeah.
somebody who's been like outside Halo and Destiny largely, hasn't had that many experiences. It's been fun to talk about something sort of like an outsider and hearing other people's enthusiasm.
and not Pokemon though.
Yeah, fuck you, Pokemon. Go die in a fire, Pikachu. Get your goddamn Pokeball.
Tell me how you really
Anyway.
feel.
Yeah, I will say I do like watching like rave videos of people in Pikachu costumes dancing to like house music. That's always fun. That's like a genre of Vine. Now that Vine is dead, so sadly. Anyway, if you'd like to keep up to date with the podcast, you can follow us on our website. We have a website, actually, at avocadogamescast.wordpress.com. We post each episode. We post a link dump that fact checks stuff that we say, because we say a lot of stupid things, sometimes that are untrue. Mostly my fault. I'm sorry. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play Music. Just search for Avocado Gamescast. And we didn't shill for this earlier, but the Avocado, the community that spawned this podcast, has a brand spanking new website that we opened like a month ago at the-avocado.org. Don't spell out the word hyphen. That would be really stupid. Just type a hyphen. Anyway, you should visit it if you're into a cool community-driven content website about pop culture and politics and video games and all that fun stuff. Did I miss anything? Anything you guys want to say before we
man.
call us to a close?
No.
Covered pretty much everything I wanted to.
The wizard came from the moon.
Oh
Exactly. I mean, that's really the most important thing.
You best.
That is the
that-
takeaway
yeah,
from this
that's gonna be
podcast.
the-
That
opening
wizard
episode.
came from the moon. Yep.
That wizard came from... I was going to call this the Bungie cast, but now I think I'm going to call this episode That Wizard Came from the Moon.
You have to. I mean, come on.
Yeah, we kind of have to.
Yeah.
All right, guys. It's been fun.
All right.
Yep.
Take care.
Later.
Bye.
See you.